TB, son, not the circumstances that I wanted this podcast to go down.
Yep, but we're here. We actually were talking to this lady on the phone this morning, and she said, "Well, you still got your leg, so that's it's a plus. Still got it."
Yeah, there's
still
definitely
got my foot.
yeah, there's definitely always massive positives that come out of moto. Like anytime, basically, you fucking stay alive. Really.
Yeah, for sure. You got to pay to play, and it's not if it happens, it's when. So
that's definitely that's one of the shittier things. Like, I guess with just the mentality of riding is and I'm even there at the stage where I'm at is I just don't want to get hurt anymore.
Yeah,
but
for sure,
it's not you don't get a choice. You don't just go to ride and be like, oh, I'm just gonna cruise, because it can happen whenever.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's proof's in the pudding right here. That's exactly what happened to me a couple of days ago. It's just one of those things we get going somewhere and so psyched to ride. We just flew halfway across the country and got there, and we are just frothing to ride and walk the track and just one of those things, man. You get out there, and the last thing you're thinking, at that point, you go look at the track, you're just like, oh, let's go rip, and just to so first things first, just to clarify some things. Obviously I got hurt here, came down for Day in the Dirt down under, and got here, but it's one of those things, the whole Fast House crew, we all came over, and it was like I said, we got there and we were just frothing, and it basically, we got back, we were all putting our gear on, and everyone was basically just like, who wants to go ride first? And I was just at that point, I'm like, yeah, go rip. I'm still getting my gear on. And it was just one of those things. And one of the guys, long story short, they ended up not putting any gas in it, and I just got handed a running bike. And it's by any means is it not anyone's fault or anything. It's exactly what you're saying. Shit happens, and it's not if it happens, it's when. And at that point, we're so pumped. Just sat on a plane for 14 hours. I was so amped to go ride, and got handed a running bike, and away she went. I ran out of gas on maybe one of the only jumps on the whole track. So that was kind of unfortunate, but it was one of those things, and I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. So like I said, yeah, it's all good. It's just unfortunate circumstances, and to clear things up a little bit, waking up in the hospital, I was just woke up and I was by myself, and I pretty much just copied and pasted what had happened, just that I was texting to people oh, this is what happened, and I kind of out of it, put it on my story, and it sucks to just see kind of some of the reaction. People are like, oh.
So what did you write on your story?
So basically, someone had asked me what had happened, what I was riding and stuff and all that, and I basically just put on my story, copied and pasted, and I just said I was riding a brand new KTM, it died off the lip, I jumped off, cased the landing, and ended up just listed off all my injuries. But I think,
but then it left a bit too much room for people to say oh, fucking this happened, that happened, and that's one terrible thing about social media, you know what I mean? Being emotional in a state, and you just wake up and you post something and not knowing, obviously I have 175,000 people or whatever it is that follow me, not knowing the impact of what you're saying when you're saying it until it's out there, you know what I mean? And I just had people Did you get any shit for it?
A little bit, for sure. Just, and I can totally understand why. And it was 100% just me waking up and, I'm halfway across the world, and I just broke myself off, woke up out of surgery and was by myself, and just my DMs are just going crazy. What happened? And you know how fast word spreads. And at that point, I didn't even know that there was no gas in the bike until Steve flew over. And when Steve flew over, then basically he eased into telling me yeah, so sorry, but there was no petrol on the bike. I'm like, man, but at that point,
it's one of those things though, yeah, I think your life works better when you don't blame people for shit that you could have easily checked. You know what I mean? There's a philosophy of this dude named Jocko Willink. He's a Navy SEAL guy, and it's called extreme ownership. and it's a fucking rad book, and I recommend it to anybody listening. Basically, he was the SEAL team commander in like Iraq and in Ramadi and shit, and he basically practices this principle of extreme ownership. So even if something's wasn't his fault, like one of his soldiers did something, he was the guy that was instructing, or that guy was under. So ultimately it come back to him. So he practices this thing of like never passing the buck onto anything. Every single thing in his life is his fault. So it's like, fuck, even as like hard as it is, it's like you could have checked the gas, somebody, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So and like I said, it's just one of those things, being in the moment. I was frothing so hard to ride, and the thing was that the guy that went out first, he went out and did 2 laps. He came in, handed me a running bike. I did 2 laps, came in, handed off a running bike, because at that point we had 6 of us and only 3 bikes, so we were just, and we didn't, they were still working on the track and getting it ready, and we only had basically like an hour to ride, so between 6 of us. So basically got handed a running bike, did 2 laps, handed the bike off. Another guy that works for Fast House did 2 laps, he handed it back off to me, and at that point on my 2nd lap I had just jumped that triple step up right in the middle of the track, and I was like, oh Darren, let's go, let's cruise over there. And sure as hell, like 3rd gear pin, standing up, coming into it, and go to seat mounts it, and just bowl, like absolute worst fear in my whole entire life of riding a motorcycle. It's the last thing you ever want to happen or expect to happen, but it's at that point, it's like the last thing. I seeing them take off, I saw one of the guys put gas in his bike, and I just,
you just assume
you know what I mean?
It's so easy because you do it so much.
Yeah, and it's just too easy to just like I said, get handed a running bike, and you're just so pumped. Like I said, just got off the plane for 14 hours. So, you know, it's just one of those things, man. Like, can't put the blame on anyone, because it could have been any one of us. You know what I mean? And we, like I said, we did 2 laps each. We kept passing the bike on and off and on and off. Like it could have been any of us, you know, and you know, I guess like I'm glad it didn't happen to someone else, because there was the 2 older guys that I was sharing the bike with, like they're not 27 years old. They probably couldn't take a hit like I could, you know, not necessarily that I could take the hit either, because I've been through a lot, but
no, I know what you're saying.
But it's
survivor's guilt.
Yeah, but it's all good. Like, you know, like I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason, and you know, it's all good. I think it's just part of the story, and it's going to be a good test of just my will, and make me take a step back and just focus on what's important. And you know, it's always good to, you
know, one fucking massive positive in all of this is you're a Red Bull athlete now.
Yeah. And
because those motherfuckers have the best of the best of the best of the best.
Absolutely.
So like, you get hurt when you're just TB, the fucking privateer hucker driving around in that rape van. Yeah. You ain't getting the same kind of care that you are as a Red Bull dude right now. So I mean, just that, like, this is gonna be your first time dealing with like that infrastructure. Yeah. Like that's a huge blessing.
Yeah, huge blessing. Absolutely. Like I said, Steve dropped everything that he had and flew halfway across the world to come just pretty much sit by my side and make sure I had the best possible care possible. So
plus Benny was hooking it up from this end
Ben
as
Foster,
well.
and I mean, dude, there was a lot of people that definitely helped. But these guys, obviously, you know, you hear about that, like Red Bull athletes, and how the platform they have, and you know, the like high performance center and everything that they have at their exposure, and until you get into an unfortunate circumstance like this, you don't really get to experience that. But now it's like, you know, obviously it just happened, but these guys just dropping everything they're doing and coming to give me the best care possible. Like, it was so little, to rewind a little bit, when they took me out of there, for some reason, whoever at the track told us that we should stay in Ipswich, and from what I'm gathering, you don't stay in Ipswich.
That's Victorville, son.
Yeah, so that's where we were already staying, and we basically, I'm actually thirsty. Thank you.
You want one, Brian? Yeah, sure.
Yes. Young Henry's.
It's not bad, eh?
It'll do, because they don't sell 805 here.
Nah, see. Okay. Hey, we're running on US time.
Cheers.
This is a US podcast right now.
So basically, when it happened at that point, like I got so lucky, like that the bike when I hit and I basically was going about 65 feet probably, doing at least 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and just dead stop. So like the compression that my body took was pretty heavy, and like, you know, like I know it could have been way worse, like looking back on it now, you know, like when I hit, and like now that it was pretty much slow motion in my head, but when I hit, the bike literally was 6 inches from me. Like if that thing would have smoked
you, bro.
Yeah, if that thing would have smoked me in my back, like we would have, you know, we might not be here telling this story. So I'm super thankful it wasn't worse. Like when I got up at first, I tried to get up and I knew right away, I was like, I for sure thought I did both my feet, you know, and then kind of got off to the side, and first thing I did is just, it hurt, but just ripped my boots off because I did not want that thing to swell up, and then just be even more pain getting it off later. So anyways, get down there and go through the whole ambulance thing. They get me in the ambulance, and then basically they said that they're taking me to Ipswich Hospital, and you know, I'm with a bunch of Americans at that point, like my crew, none of us knew what the hell we were doing, you know, and I get there, and you know, at that point, then it starts to, like, the first thing I said when I'm getting loaded in the ambulance, I told Kenny, the owner of Fast House, I'm like, Kenny, please just take my phone, and you got to get a hold of Steve, and tell him what had happened, just to try to figure out a game plan, basically. So, you know, I basically, at that point, between Red Bull, they had got a hold of Ben, that Ben runs the Red Bull stuff down here. So, he basically got on the phone, and right away he drove straight from the Gold Coast to Ipswich and went to the hospital and was like, you got to get out of here right now. Like, you cannot, like, they are not touching you. There's no way. And like, and at that point I didn't know. I was in so much pain. I was just like,
And that, to be fair too, like, that hospital is not designed for like crazy shit. You know what I mean? That's like a rural hospital.
For sure.
That's like designed to be for, you know, the fucking first point of call, and then you go to like a legit hospital, because we're like super close to a capital city.
Yeah. So, and I mean, at that point they were worried. They felt up my spine and stuff, and they were worried about, you know, the compression that I took on my back as well. And so they basically, you know, they got me there, and I was in so much pain. Like they didn't really like, it was the whole like timing of it, like it kind of all blends together for me, because I was in, so like and I honestly, I sound like I feel like a pussy saying it, because I know it could be so much worse, and I know how many like these, like, I mean, I've dealt with it a bunch. I've had 4 ACLs, compounded femur and like and like seeing the femur out of my skin, like it was traumatic, but dude, that was nowhere near the pain of the pressure that was in my foot. Like, it was crazy. Instantly, my foot just felt like it was burning, and it felt like there was so much pressure inside of it. It wasn't that swollen, but it just felt like there was so much pressure inside of it. Like, I felt like I could just touch it and it'd pop. And so I get there, and like they start just running all these scans and doing everything, trying to figure it out. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure that I got CT scans on my back or anything before they transferred me, and Ben got me transferred out of there. So I mean, I was in there, and dude, it was gnarly. There was like, I remember Ben got there the first night, and there's this lady, I don't know what she was on, all iced out or something, but running through there saying she was going to stab everyone and kill everyone. And like, dude, it was like real deal, you know?
Fuck it.
So, at that point I'm like, okay, like
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
So, so it was kind of gnarly. And then basically they kept coming in, and they kept just like, I didn't really have anyone at that point, like, you know, obviously no family with me or anything. And like, and to a point, like, you know, Kenny and those guys, like, it's also their event. Like, they can't, like,
there was so much shit going on with like the event itself that it's like the timing of this is terrible.
It was terrible. It was the first day we got there. We were riding the track Tuesday, and the event started Friday, and they still had so much work to do by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know what I mean?
And then the other thing is there's no cell reception out there.
Nothing.
So it's not even like you kind of, if you're at that event, you're so like, you're gone from communication.
Yeah, and I know, like, you know, like Kenny and those guys, they had a lot of shit they had to do, like, and I would not expect them to be like, oh, we just fuck the event because our boy got hurt. Like, that's their event, and that's their job, what they're doing, you know? So it was just being there by myself for a minute, and it was just like, dude, the nurses just kept coming in. I was in so much pain. Like, I could never get in front of it. You know, I could never get to, like, myself settled and comfortable and then stay ahead of it. They just kept pumping me with so much shit, dude. And, like, got to the point where I'm like I was, like, calling for the nurses, and I, like, hit the button, and the nurses wouldn't come. And I'm like, excuse me. And I'm, like, literally falling back, laying in the bed, staring at the ceiling. Like, and like I said, I almost feel like a pussy saying this, like, or being like this, because I know it could be so much worse, but like
the end of the day though, like, me it fucking
physically
sucks.
Like, I had never endured that much pain to this point.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy to me, because I'm like, whatever.
You've had worse injuries on paper.
On paper, exactly. So I'm like sitting there, dude, and I'm like staring into the ceiling, and I'm like, dude, it's like tunneling in, you know. And at that point, so were you on like tons of morphine or something? Morphine, fentanyl, like they were giving me everything they possibly could, and it was still hurting. Nothing. Like, they were giving me tablets, like, fuck, dude, it was so gnarly. They basically got to the point where I was laying there, and I'm like, dude, I need, at that point, I feel like I just needed someone that I knew next to me that I could just be like, okay, like, just talk through. I was just literally sitting there by myself trying to get these nurses to help me, and you know what I mean? And so finally, like, I leaned forward, and the dude tells me, like, oh, hey, sit back down. You can't move your back or your neck, because I still was in a neck thing. And I'm like, well, dude, I've hit the button 15 minutes ago. I've been saying, excuse me. You guys keep walking by. No one's looking at me. I keep having, and at that point, there was this older nurse and I vaguely remember it. It's like I said, it was all blur, but she kept coming in, and she's like I could hear the machines behind me, like the flatlining almost, you know, like beep, like I wasn't breathing. Like, I would get below that point, and like, dude, the lady would come in, and she's like, Tyler, like, you got to breathe. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, well, seriously, like, I've been trying to get somebody here. Like, can you please just send one of my friends that's in the waiting room to be here?
So they wouldn't let anyone in.
At that point, they weren't letting anyone in. I'm like, just send one of my friends in here, because they were all waiting for me, but they're outside, you know? It was just like a total nightmare, dude. Yeah. So so I'm like, you just send one of my friends in to, at least so I have something to talk to. Like, I'm sitting here, you guys are pumping me with everything you can, and I'm in so much pain, I can't get in front of it, but I don't have anyone to talk to. I'm literally like, it's to the point I'm forgetting to breathe. Yeah. You know what I mean? And finally, like, they're like, okay, like, finally went out there and got Kenny at that point. Kenny came in, and it was like, okay, like, then I had someone to, like, like,
just, you know, like, someone that kind of calm you down.
And at that point, like, I was like hyperventilating, like, I couldn't, it was crazy, like, I couldn't, like I said, I feel like a pussy talking about it like that, but it's like, it was mind blowing. Like, I couldn't, like, I was so lightheaded and feeling like I was going to pass out that I couldn't breathe. Like, it was so gnarly, because there was just so much pressure, like I said, in there. And when
pain's a motherfucker like that. Like, I remember when I had my kidney surgery, they made me get up. It was like, I think I had 2 days where they wouldn't let me get up, and I still had a catheter. And then they come in, they were like, oh, we're going to take the catheter out, and then you got to get up.
How's that? That is the worst thing on this planet.
I was like, at that point, I didn't care. Like, I wanted the catheter in because of how bad my guts hurt, because they did like the full cut across there. So then they were like, yeah, we got to take this catheter out. And I was like, nah, man, because then I won't be able to piss. And they're like, well, that's the thing. Like, we got to get you up. So then, anyway, pull the catheter out. And then I stood up, and like, I've been through a lot of shit as well, like with injuries and stuff. So it's like, you know, you have like a good gauge of pain. It's like, oh yeah, tib fib feels like this, broken sternum feels like this. And so then I get up, I was like, I got to piss, can you bring me a bedpan? And they're like, nah, you've got to go, like, you've got to walk, because once you can walk to the toilet, they're like, you're going home. So then I was like, nah, I'm not getting up. And they're like, well, we're not bringing you a bedpan. So I had to get up, and I'm on one of these walking frames, and I was like shaking, dude. Like, you know when people pass out because of how something hurts? I didn't think that was real. Or I thought you had to be like shot or something.
When you go into shock, but you don't know it until you experience it, you know?
Yeah, and I was just standing on that fucking walker, and like, just from a surgery, dude. And then I started shaking, and I like, dude, to that piss, to this day, is like my benchmark for pain.
For sure.
So it's like, sometimes that pain just makes you do fucking gnarly shit, man.
So, dude, and like I said, and I think another reason.
A tiny bit closer, I reckon.
I think like a big reason why it was hurting too is because like when I got in there, like I blew my navicular into pieces, so the chunks were everywhere in there.
What's your navicular?
So the navicular is basically like right where your tib and fib come down, and then right below it's the talus, and then the heel, and then there's the navicular bone that goes sideways, basically right in the joint where your ankle moves.
We might get Brian to look that up. How do we look that up? The navicular. Feel like I'm pretty solid with anatomy, but I don't know.
Dude,
what that one
it's
is.
crazy because like,
It's like a hockey puck of a bone.
Really?
I was terrible in school, and I've learned so much. Can't be giving away your password, dude.
I can edit that shit out, son. They don't laugh. And then just go into the settings and maybe make it not shut off. So yeah, Chrome there. So navicular.
It would be navicular in your foot because there's one in your wrist too.
Yeah, because I thought it was in your wrist. That's why.
It's the same as your wrist though. There's very limited blood supply to the navicular in your foot, just like your wrist.
So that thing. So you shattered that thing.
Yeah, completely blew it apart.
Really?
Yeah, he had to put 5 screws through it, and the screws are going through it in every which direction.
What?
So the square chunk, like right in front of it, that the cursor's on, that's where your tib goes down.
Yeah.
And then the navicular's right in front of it, and then the big chunk that you see goes all the way around. That's the calcaneus. It's what it's called. But yeah, the heel bone, and then the talus is right underneath the square piece.
Yeah.
Like behind the navicular. So it goes like navicular, talus, heels underneath, and then tib and fib connects to the top.
Yeah, right.
And it's crazy. Like I've learned.
That's a full compression thing. So that's why that happens.
Full compression.
So your tib and fib drives into that bone and then explodes it, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
All of that.
And the talus is right there too. And I think I got lucky by not destroying the talus too. Like I did break it pretty good, but the only one that required all like the screws and stuff was a navicular because it basically was gone. It was disintegrated. So it's
gonna be crazy when they can like 3D print that shit, man.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
They're starting to do that stuff now. I was reading an article the other day. A guy in Brisbane, man, at this hospital, he printed all of the is it metatarsals,
metatarsals, I think, in your hand and your foot.
Yeah. So he 3D printed this guy, like had basically smashed all of it because I hurt my wrist at the start of the year, and
like, are you choking someone out?
Nah, fucking my bike, dude, the slide stuck on in my Screaming Eagle, so I'm like 4th gear wedge, bro.
No,
just a grass track, man. My buddy's farm. And like I just hit the brakes, pulled the clutch in, and the clutch was gone as well. So as the clutch was in, nothing. Like it just fucking barely slowed the thing down. So I had to like full Valentino Rossi low slide it, dude. And my bike just slid for ages. I probably crashed for like, I reckon about 60 yards.
Damn.
Just, it was wet grass.
Yeah.
And I was 4th gear pin.
And you're not stopping on grass.
Nah. And it's like long grass too.
Yeah.
So then the thing just end-friended. But I ended up hurting my wrist, and then I started like Google doctoring some shit and like really looking in. But the wrist is just it's a mess. Like, so when people break their wrists and have trouble with it for so long, it's because those bones are like, and it's like what happened with you with your navicular. It's like you've got to put so many screws in them just to try and get them to bind together.
And that's the thing, like there's so many like bones in your hand and your foot. Like you want to have someone that's a specialist to do that. Like the doctor that I had do mine, he's a foot specialist. So like you don't want just anybody to just go in there because you can really do more harm than anything. You know what I mean? So it was. So I completely disintegrated my navicular. I broke my talus. I broke my calcaneus, which is my heel. Talus is basically your ankle. I broke my 3rd metatarsal. I broke both my big toes.
Dude.
And I, coming to conclusion, I might have already had a slightly torn ACL, but the impact blew my 4th ACL on my right knee.
That's a lot of work that you did on your foot.
Yeah.
And
like I said, man, I still look back at it like could have and should have probably been worse. Like that bike was so close to me, and I just needed take it as a blessing for what it is, you know? Like, I think, like, the hardest part for me the first day, like, especially leaving the track, was just knowing, like, I have the most hectic schedule coming up, or I did.
So what did you have coming up? Because, I mean, like, to kind of backtrack a little bit, and it's been cool because you were one of my first friends in America.
Yeah.
So 2010, I didn't even know Walt. Like, I knew Wes through filming. And so when I
had just met Walt, I think, at that time too.
Yeah.
Just met all those boys in 2009. So it was all like, at the same time.
Yeah, everyone was kind of like this little super group was like forming right around that time. And then so I went and spent 2 months at Walt's. I never even knew Walt. I just knew Wes from filming. And then when I went to California, I didn't really have any place to stay. I stayed at Bilko's for 2 nights. And then he's like, hey, my parents are coming. Like, you got to go. So then I went to Parlor press day, and then I met Wes for the first time, and then Walt was with him. And then I was like, he's like, well, why don't you come stay with Walt? And I was like, all right, because it was just that new Canyon Lake house and no one was living there.
No one was living there, yeah.
So we just run amok for like 2 months. And like,
I remember we didn't have any furniture in the house.
Furniture.
Just literally like one chair in the living room with like a eating like dinner tray with like a TV set on top of that, a little flat screen.
The pool table was there.
Pool table came with the house. That was pretty tight.
So yeah, we had the pool table, and then I had like a bed, and then like a little desk, and I'd like work in that room near the pool table. Yeah. But so I guess the kind of where I'm going with that, just maybe give people some background on how long we've known each other. But at that time, like, you were just one Loretta's schoolboy, college boy.
I had racked up a few championships in 2009, and just through like Whitney and a few other places, and then 2010 won Loretta's, and then in the college boy class, and then I got 5th in the intermediate class that year. I think it was like 250 intermediate. It was gnarly. I think Bogle won, Nelson was 2nd, or no, Frace was 2nd, Nelson was 3rd.
That's some heavy hitters.
Who was 4th? Jacob Hayes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I was 5th or 6th, somewhere around there, and then I won the other one. And then goes into 2011. That was my first pro year for last amateur pro, I guess, and then ended up getting hurt that year and pretty much threw it away. So, but that was when we all met, 2010.
Yeah, and it was cool because like you're always this guy. And there's like a few of you, but they're real rare.
Yeah.
They're the dude that everybody likes. You know who else is kind of like that? Is Jared Merrill from J-Star.
Okay, yeah.
Nate Ramsey is another dude.
For sure.
So there's only like a few of those guys that's like universally, everybody kind of puts them as like the coolest dude ever.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of struck me with you, because like I didn't know of you before we met, but I was like, man, here's this fucking kid that like everybody just loves this kid. And it was like, but it was the big boys. It was like the fucking Twitches and Mattos and like all these kind of heavy hitters. And it's like, you'd see other kids that were your age and with your accolades, and they just didn't have that. And it was like Nate Adams and like that whole crew. And it really intrigued me back then to like, kind of, I was like, what's this kid got that all of these people have? But it's like, you're just legitimately one of the most chill motherfuckers that's ever lived. And then
I appreciate that.
But the other thing is, you let your skills talk way more than you talk. Yeah. And I think that it's like, there's a real balance that people have to find to where it's like, if you want to get sponsored and if you want to get rides, you've almost got to like kind of toot your own horn a lot, and you've got to like really kind of go on the sell.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just not in you to do. So it was like you didn't have sponsors, and then the sponsors you had were like dudes like Nate Hawley and Nate Adams and those guys. Like, there was like this homie kind of deal. Yeah. So I guess there's so much shit to talk about in there, but then fast forward to this year, and then you finally get that Red Bull contract. Yeah. And it's like, this kid is finally getting paid. Like, it's like, so much of your stuff like has done enough talking to where you've like actioned yourself into a Red Bull ride. There was no manager that was selling. There was no, like, you weren't promoting. There was no like kind of that contrived shit to get yourself a deal. It was like finally there was so much action that people just couldn't deny the shit that you'd done. Yeah. And I think it's like, it's a credit to you, but it's fucking rare, man, that a person can just go along just being the coolest cunt ever and then until someone finally goes like, all right, we're gonna drop a bucket into this kid. And that happened this year. So I guess it's kind of to what you were saying about the schedule and stuff, because it's like, man, I mean, I was fucking stoked to see you finally get some kind of deal with big sponsors, and then you get X Games medals, and it's like you're kind of getting the credit that like everyone knew this, man. And
dude, that was the thing. Like, I'm 100% at the end of the day, like I'm me, and I'm me to the best of my ability. And I think like you were saying, with meeting all these people and doing that, like I was always just myself. I was never somebody that I
never tried to be.
No, I didn't try to be something I wasn't. I was one. And I think that's where a lot of like this, you see it a lot in this industry. A lot of dudes are really skillful with what they do on a bike or off the bike, and it doesn't always translate together. Like, I think having a personality and like a smile on your face, and like it goes a long way. You know what I mean?
But you've never been like let's talk about like Buttery, right? Yeah. And so not to compare you two guys, or like not he's good or bad, anything, but just like taking Buttery on face value.
Yep.
It's like, get a clue, and like, oh, don't fresh the paint. You know, like he's kind of got like a shtick.
Yeah.
And he's running with that shtick, and he's selling based off that shtick.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like you've got a personality, but you're right, it's like your own. It's just so not contrived.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do, because that's a fucking risk, man. Because
for sure.
Then you're like, oh, well, like me, don't like me, fucking, I don't give a fuck. I'll either be in a trailer and still riding, or I'll be a Red Bull athlete and still, like, the skills are still the same, but it's like you're not pushing to have this personality, and that's like super hard to commit to.
Yeah, and I think like a big thing of it too is like my upbringing, like where I'm from, like there wasn't a lot of moto going on, and like to find sponsors and get sponsors, it was pretty much like few and far between, you know. Like there's a handful of successful riders that have came out of the Central Coast, like, you know, you can go back to Turbo Reef was killing it at one point way back early 2000s, and then Nathan Woods off-road stuff, Jesse Nelson, Topher Ingles, a few to name them. Like now Derek Drake, he's from there.
But if you compare that to like 3 hours down the road in Southern California,
exactly, it's
like hundreds of people.
Just that's where everything is. Like where I was from, you weren't getting into magazines and stuff like that. You know, there's like Final Lap or like all these old amateur moto magazines and stuff, and like I'd see them all the time, but like I just wasn't in a place. Like we would race locally, but it was just for fun. You know what I mean? It wasn't like. And finding sponsors and all that was tough. Like, you know, it was like Sponsor House, like sick, I got 30% off from no toil filters or whatever it is. You know what I mean? At that time, like Pro Taper's giving me 50% off bars. Hell yeah. Like we're going racing, you know? And then at that point, like I'm thankful, like had my parents, like my grandpa specifically, like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have my mom and dad, like they couldn't afford a dirt bike. So it was like my grandpa, like, definitely helped pave that way for me. But at that time, like my dad was still racing flat track on and off, and you know, it was just that upbringing of not getting everything handed to you, if that makes any sense. Like having to like work for it a little more, and like I never even cared to like there's never once in my mind where I'm like I guess you can go back to like I came across some preschool videos, like when I was back at home last time, and it was like me graduating from preschool, and it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a professional dirt bike rider, and I just like slid down the slide, you know what I mean? And it's like crazy to think, like fast forward 20 years or whatever, and I'm here, like it's crazy. But never in a million years would I have thought, like with no sponsors and like trying to do it and going to these amateur nationals and getting fucking smoked, you know? Like I came across like a results list the other day, or like when I was home that last time, and just seeing how many gnarly dudes are in my class, like Villapotos and so many, the last like 10 years of professional racing, it's like those dudes were all in my class, you know? It's like so hard to compete with. So it's always, to me, it was like, I'm just doing this because I enjoy it, you know what I mean? And it got to the point where I was just like, like, you know, for a while I got over it, and then, you know, I started realizing like I worked a job and realized the value of $1, and I'm like, screw that. Like,
what work did you do? When was that?
I did so I got like 16 to 18, I think. Over 2 years, I installed hardwood floors.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so just my parents are in the industry, so just worked for one of my dad's installers, and just shit sucked.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, at that point, like, you know, moved down south, met Walt, all those guys and whatever. But I think just from where I was from and knowing all that, like, nothing was handed to me. Like, I had to kind of just like work for everything that, you know, or just let my actions speak more than anything. And like, to be honest, like I was never really thought ever that I would get to this point ever. And then fast forward, like, there's 2 years when I started working. Fast forward 2 years after that, when I was 18, I'm like, oh, like, my grandpa was still willing to help me. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I want to go ride, you know? And went out there and did some amateur nationals, and then it was like, okay, by that point, like, by the time I won Loretta's in 2010, it was like, okay, like, it might be somewhat feasible, like, at least to just, you know, make ends meet and ride my dirt bike. It's all I want.
A couple years on the circuit.
It's all I want to do, man. Yeah. Like, I just want to ride my motorcycle and have fun. Like, so, you know, it got to that point, like, realized that I could probably do it. And then I just kept plugging away, man. And I did everything that, you know, you're supposed to do. Like, well, you gotta train. And I moved to Southern California, like, moved in with Ryan Walters. Like, him and his family took me under their wing, and like, dude, love them to death for that, because if I wouldn't have had that, I would have never, like, at that time I was driving down south every other week, and I'd literally just sleep in the back seat of my van. Because
like, when we met, you weren't actually staying at Walt's because they didn't even have that. Or did you stay at the Yorba Linda house before?
I stayed at the Yorba Linda house for a short time, and then went straight to
the new house,
the Canyon Lake house. Like, and then Dad and Ryan's dad and brother were still living at the Yorba Linda, so it was like you said, we just had the whole house to ourselves.
Fuck, that was so fun.
So fun. In Canyon Lake too.
We had a time.
We had a time for sure. So, but yeah, I just think, like, I did everything I was supposed to do at that point. Like, I was making a little bit of money from these local races and just some stuff. My grandpa was still helping me out, and everything. I pretty much paid a trainer, and like Randy Lawrence, trained with him and I just like did everything I could, and it just took it out of me, you know? Like, I just kept getting, like, I was in the best shape of my life. I was the fastest I'd ever been riding on the track, like stopwatch nationals. Like, I was training with Anderson at the time and a couple other guys with Randy, and like, dude, I was like the best I'd ever felt in my whole life, but I just kept like
But the fun wasn't there.
The fun wasn't there.
Like, and in all honesty, like, as much as maybe people want to like dance around the fact, like, oh, fucking Ken don't like training.
No.
Ken rocks and wants to do whips. Ken wants to fucking drink beers, and Ken wants to wake surf.
Yeah.
And it's like, but there's a certain group of people that, like, Ken's kind of like right on that fringe of like a dude that wants to have fun and party, but he can put it all aside and like go big picture.
Same with Jason. Jason
Anderson's the same.
Perfect example.
Yeah. And then there's some guys, and it's like you're just underneath that, where it's like you just can't get over that hump mentally.
And yeah, I think that a huge thing was just mental stuff. And then I think at that point, like, I kept getting hurt, and just like,
especially if you don't have the support too, because like you got to think, like, a guy like Kenny, he gets hurt, he gets all the best doctors, he has like all that sort of support, he knows the paycheck's still coming in, so it's like, it's not, I guess, not to make excuses, and he's earned all that, but like it's definitely a different thing based on the level that you're at, man. Like, it's access
and
to
at
stuff.
That point, like, me being from a small town and moving down there and being exposed to all that and knowing what you're going up against, and dude, it was tough. Like, not to make any excuses. Like, I just didn't make it happen at the time, but I got to the point where it just took everything out of me. I was over it. I just wanted to have fun. And thankfully I had a few sponsors at the time that were helping just get me by. I wasn't making a ton, but I was making a little money, and And there's just certain people that really supported me, that stuck with me through all those hard times. Like from 2009 to 15, I had 4 ACLs, 2 femurs, broken wrist. Like, dude, the list goes on. And that, like, mentally, what people don't see, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was talking about it the other day. Like, it's so easy to, like, you know, from the outside looking in, people seeing on social media, like, oh, it's like you got to remain positive and you're staying positive. But, like, people don't see those dark times, you know? They don't see the times where I'm sitting there like, what the fuck am I doing right now? You know what I mean? Like, is it worth it or whatever? But at the end of the day, like, this is what I've always wanted, and I would not change this for a thing. Like, you know, I always tell myself you got to pay to play, and you know, it's just part of the story, so it's all good. Like, but yeah. So, anyways, setting back to that, I, you know, just started having fun, man. Just started riding. Luckily, like, met all of the right people. I think, you know, with everything in life, it's like, you know, a lot about like who you know, and like I had like you said, I had rad dudes in my corner that I could call my friends, like Twitch.
And you had no fucking business hanging out with those dudes. No, but like they fucking worshipped you, dude. Like it's still like, I mean, like as I got to know you more, like it kind of made sense. But man, I'd have conversations with people. I'd be like, what's the secret sauce that Bereman's got? You know? And it was just like, because those dudes, like,
I don't think I've ever figured it out, man. I'd still like, all those guys, like, they're all heroes of mine. And
but dude, they fucking worship you. Like, it's the most bizarre shit ever, eh? Like, Twitch is just like, you can see, like, even in videos and shit, like, everyone's like fucking with everyone, but it's like no one really wants to fuck with you. Yeah. Like, people will like call you out, or like, I don't know. Even like when Twitch posted that, or maybe it was like one of Axel's vlogs or something, and he's like, he's like narrating you and fucking Axel's whips, and he's like just digging at Axel so hard, and then he's like he's like, yeah, fucking, this is what happens when you got no money, throws down better whips, and then like Axel comes around, rich kid, fucking. But it's like, I don't know, there was just it was crazy to me that you, and like, you were young, dude, like, and they're grown ass fucking men. And right now, like, I'm 30. I'm starting to turn into a fucking grown man. But it's like, I don't have any 18-year-old kids that I want around me fucking ever.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, even now as I get older, it's even more gnarly, because I'm like, it's a fucking kid. This is just this kid.
And it's only getting worse, though, dude, with like this generation and social media and everything. Like, it's getting worse, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was right on the like cusp of like, still had a Walkman.
We didn't really have social media like around that 2010. Like, I think Facebook, but that's
I remember like just trying to learn the internet and like having to dial up and like put a Walkman in your pocket,
Napster
like,
and shit,
before the cell phone. Like when the first brick cell phone came out and you pull the walkie, you know what I mean? Like, I was so thankful that I'm like, you know, I'm
right on that
still
verge.
Way ahead, like, I guess ahead of a lot of people. Like, they're a newer generation, but still right on that cusp of like experiencing some of that old stuff. And
without
like,
it.
Yeah. And
because even like when Kerry was on the podcast, he was just saying like, he's the most glad with his freestyle career is that there was no social media. Like, that's pretty gnarly when a guy's like, what's the best part about that whole freestyle thing? He's like, that there was none of this shit. None of this bullshit.
I reckon it could have gone a whole lot different if there was social media, especially
they'd all be in fucking jail, bro.
Oh man,
they'd all be in jail.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, I mean, it was crazy to, you know, like, if you really think about what you were doing at that time, it's like, you were just a kid, but these guys, like the biggest dudes, like, you'd always get an invite to ride. No one was like ever wanted to rip on you. Like, it was a fucking super weird thing to see. Like, I
know, and it's great. Like, I don't know,
but it's just a credit to your personality, man. That's all I can put it down to. And it's like I said, Jared Merrill's like that. Yeah. And fucking Nate Ramsey. Yeah. They're just these like anomaly dudes that everyone fucking likes.
Not a lot of people like that in this industry, for sure.
And I guess maybe that's why, you know, you get guys like Nate Hawley that seem like he always had a paycheck for you to do something. And, you know, like same with Nate Adams, like those boys always had something for you. Yeah. And then it's crazy that then you get into this, it's almost like you were 5 years too early for what happened. So like in 2010, then it was like that Tyler Bereman was 5 years too early for this new freeride quarterpipe fucking Hooligan racing, like this whole brand of just like fun. And it's like you and Axel are the two dudes doing it the best. Like there's not many dudes that are getting paid to not race and not do comp trick shit. It's like you just go and fucking ride your bike, man. We'll just document it because you guys are doing like the craziest shit. And I know Axel gets a lot of shit because obviously he's like Ash's brother, but like who's better than that dude at what he does?
Like
in his lane.
Everyone wants to hate on him, but you can't take anything away from the kid. No. He has some fucking serious skill on a motorcycle.
And just like style that you can't learn, you can't teach.
You can't buy.
Fuck no. And they've got money.
Yeah,
they would have bought it if they could.
They would have bought it if they could.
PH would have fucking bought that shit if they could.
But I'll give it to PH. He's got some fucking style too, dude. Like you see that dude like show up to the after parties. He'll have like fucking cheetah print pants and like
I feel like PH is Walt.
Oh,
but God. Like Walt will be PH.
Walt will be PH.
He's like doing this thing. But like, so I guess you just come up in this. It's almost like you got forced to do like this 5-year apprenticeship where like it's actually going to be pretty tough, Tyler, but if you can stick this out, the reward on the other side of this is going to be pretty fucking sick, and it might be better than you ever thought your life could ever be.
For sure.
And I feel like that's 2018 Tyler Bereman.
Right now, for sure. But there is the time where it's like I grew up a racer and I still am a racer. Like I love racing, but just the level that it takes all the life out of it. You know what I mean? Like I said, like
there's 26, 27.
Yeah, there's more to life than dirt bikes, man. And like just sitting back and like starting to have fun. And like I got so lucky, like with just this social media generation and all this stuff. Like, I got hurt so much, and like every time I'd come back from being hurt, like it would like fortunate enough to live next to Beaumont and Ritchie Canyon and like these hills, right? Well, growing up with my dad, every weekend we'd go trail riding at this place called Clear Creek and go up there and he'd just take me to all the jumps, and I'd just literally like trail ride as much as I could and go to all the jumps and just try to go as big as I could. And that was my thing. Like I just loved jumping, right? So, being close to all that and getting over all these injuries and like having that like free ride right there, like at that point, all I did was just go out and just hit some jumps and bring the shovel and water and whatever. Like I was just having fun, man. And it just turned into this like, well, why don't we just capture all this fun? Because one, it ain't gonna last forever, and two, like I'm super like inspired by other action sports. Like I see these guys of like skate guys and surf guys, and they have their own website or their own like channel or YouTube channel or whatever, and they're just creating content and like making a living and having fun and doing what they get to do. And like I said, fortunately enough, I'm growing up in this generation of digital media and all this shit. So it's like,
and you were always, because we did that eastbound and down trip, and you were always the guy that cracking on for that. But like you were always so fucking down to film, and like there's guys that are like, yeah, I'll film, but then there's guys like, nah, I'll film. Like I'll fucking stay here. I'll kill my bike until you're ready. Then I'll kick it. Then I'll fucking send it, and then I'll come back and I'll wait till you're ready. Yeah. Like then you get the other guys like, yeah, let's film. And it's like they'll just want to do laps or do their own thing. Like you get it. Yeah. And it's like you're always one of the people that, I don't know, maybe it's because you hung out with Walt and Wes so much, I think that you kind of like knew the process.
That was the biggest thing, like the 100% biggest thing for me. Like I was living at Walt's and trying to race and do all that, but I was living with him when they were running Verb Moto, and Verb Moto was the sickest shit ever, like creating so much of the raddest content, and it was so rad. But just as soon as I moved down there and like he let me stay at his house for a long time, like I just was exposed to that right away. Like immersed into that culture. And like that dude is second to none when creatively wise. Like he's insane.
He's a fucking lord.
Yeah. So like just being around that, and like that was the first time I'd ever had a camera in my face was 2010 when Walt did a video for me for Verb, and at that point like was like, whoa, videos are cool. And like, like I said, it just was starting to like slowly take off. And like those guys were like you said, they were lords at that time, just fully just cranking out content every day at the amateur nationals. Dude. Like have overnight all these races, the sickest edit. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't understand how these guys did it, but like,
dude, I get goosebumps like seriously thinking about it because like for me, man, like when I went to, I'd never been to another country. Like I grew up in a fucking super small town, went to America, met Wes, met Walt, and then like, bro, 2010 Motocross the Nations, I'm there filming and then we're editing, but at the same time fucking sending it. Yeah. Like we were parked like right next to the Red Bull thing. There's like fucking chicks getting banged in motorhomes while like people are like editing.
Things are happening.
Like, yeah, stuff's going down. Wes is like cranking out this edit, like, shut the fuck up. And then we got like Red Bull dudes knocking on the door. And they're like, what the fuck's the videos? And Wes is like, 20 minutes, bang, edits up, like full legit. Like, I don't know how something so good come out of it. Was like Wolf of Wall Street. Like it was like a Wolf of Wall Street color.
100%.
And then you go like
if only those dudes could have had a reality show.
Dude, it would have been hectic. We had like Bulmer throwing up in the motorhome, and then some chick comes into the motorhome and says because he's British that we were keeping him as a slave. Remember the 1960s story? And she's like, we abolished slavery in the 1960s. And I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out. He's not our slave. He's our friend. He's just fucking hungover. And she's like, you have him locked away like a slave. And we were just like, what the fuck? But like that whole time, all of this like rad content is getting produced. Smashed out.
Yeah, and just like, night after night after night.
It was like that every day, dude.
And I think just being exposed to that and seeing that, like, it made me like really like pay attention to like, I'd always watch surf and skate videos and BMX videos and all that and growing up, but like it really like opened my eyes to like the more creative side of it, like watching how creative Walt is when he does stuff. Like, and I never like, you just like watch the clip and hear the music before, but then you start seeing like, okay, is that clip in sync with this part of the song, and just certain little things that I'd never looked at before, and it just like, my wheels started turning, and just I think being exposed to that was the reason that I've got to where I am now, because that's all I want to do is just have fun and create content. And 2 was the reason why I really got over racing. I was just I kept getting hurt, and I was just over it, and like I just at that point every time I'd come back, I just want to go have fun and go hit ramps with Twitch or go free ride or whatever it was. I just I just never lost that, like lost touch of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think like stoked for Walt. Dude's my legend, one of my best friends, and it's cool to see him doing what he's doing, and now like I've gotten to this place where I never thought that I'd be. So
and it's just cool. It's crazy that it's just the age, man. It's like the timing like people,
timing's everything, man.
It really is. But like I think that if you're like a negative person, or if you're a person that timing didn't happen for you the right way, it's like you can blame it on timing.
For sure.
But it's like you've got to be fucking ready.
Yeah.
Like when someone comes knocking, your shit
you
has to be
better open
tight.
The fucking door.
And I mean, dude, I know like when you signed that Red Bull deal, there was a ton of haters for sure. And it's like there's people hating on the fact that you stopped racing, you're like doing this whole thing, but it's like the timing was right, and you put in work in the hills, and you put in work with these dudes, and it's like there's so much going on behind the scenes, and then it's like when it comes to it, now the best cameras are going to be pointed on you, the best producers, the best directors, the best locations. You've got budget. And then what's the first thing you do? Go down to New Zealand, send that fucking...
Couldn't have worked out any better.
Can you try find that for us? That was like the sickest shit. And it's like, all right, talk shit, but when Red Bull came calling, he went to New Zealand and then is throwing that down. Like that clip went fucking everywhere.
And that just like was rad how that all worked and happened, because like I was already meant to go down there before that. Like I was talking
before the Red Bull
thing. Like I was talking with the Frew brothers, and like I'd saw the, it's every 2 years, so I saw the event 2 years before that, and I just randomly like hit them up, like left a comment or something on one of their things, like, this place looks absolutely insane. Like, you got, like, hope to get to check it out one of these days. And sure shit, like, right before then, he hit me up, and one of the Free Brothers hit me up and was like, hey man, would you be interested in coming down? And it just so happened to work that my buddy R-Dog, he's a mountain biker, and he just started riding for Fast House, and Tyler McCall and all these guys, they started riding for Fast House, and they were going down there for Farm Jam too, for the mountain bike side. So it just like worked. We just all got on the same place, and we stayed at the same place, and got on the same plane, and like went down there, and then literally got my helmet like 4 days before I left. Like, dude. And I was so like, I was on the fence at that time, like before, like, cause before I had other, like, my other sponsors and stuff, like I just didn't know what I was gonna do. Like
we got this clip up here. Might have to turn that sound down a tiny bit. The internet's not like super good down here.
This is an iPhone clip.
Oh yeah, just do it on the actual window there. Yeah, that thing. Cause the sound will probably be weird. You're right. Oh,
best jump ever. Shout out to the Free Bros.
Yeah, they know how to build shit down there. Yeah. But then, so you know what I mean? It's like you get all the haters and you get all the shit, and it's like, oh, Tyler Bereman's doing fucking Red Bull, like he's not a Red Bull athlete. And then it's like fucking.
See, that was like the thing too. Like beforehand, I'm not the greatest person to be told what to do. Like I kind of like tend to shut down sometimes, like when I'm told what to do. And like at first I was like, I was asking people, and it was like, I just, just outside looking in, it's like such a prestigious company. I'm like, man, it might be like too gnarly, you know, like being told.
I was hey, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, does Willie fit?
Yeah, for sure. No, 100%. And
that's knowing like a lot of the ins and outs of the company as well, not just you.
That's what I'm saying. Like I've had friends that ride for the company, or people that work for the company or whatever, and like I haven't really heard too much, but just the outside looking in, like just like
you're like, am I Red Bull?
Yeah, like it seemed gnarly. Like, is this me or is it not? You know what I mean? And I was like on the fence, and then I just woke up one day and I'm like, man, like
you'd be fucking retarded if you said
I would. Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and credit to like Twitch and Twitch's wife, like, Twitch is saying one thing, but I was talking to Twitch's wife, and she's like straight up, it was just like told me, she's like grabbed me, and she like literally both hands on my face, and she's like, Tyler, you're a fucking idiot if you don't take this. And I'm like, whoa. And she's like, what would you rather see on your wall when you get older? A bunch of Weed Maps helmets, or do you want Red Bull helmets? And I'm like,
it's the top.
Bingo. Yeah. Like, I'm an idiot if I don't take this. Like, so yeah, like this, 100%. Like I was back and forth, and I'm just like, I won't ever know unless I try,
And you'd way rather get fucking fired from Red Bull.
Dude, could you imagine? I was gonna say, yeah. Could you imagine like not having those sponsors, getting like going all through this, like not ever like I was. It's not like I went to them and like, yeah, I want to be on Red Bull.
That's what I'm saying. It's like probably the coolest thing though.
Yeah, and I never like and then it's just like could you imagine? Like I'm like, with all due respect, guys, sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck that.
So yeah, I mean, dude, it's just one of those things, man. It's like all my friends, like I grew up down the street from this guy named Jake Zemke, and at the time Jake Zemke rode street bikes for American Honda, raced the AMA Superbike circuit, and I went to all the races with him and stuff, and he was sponsored by Red Bull, and like just him wearing a Red Bull hat all the time and seeing that, and like even like Jesse Nelson. Jesse was one of my best friends growing up, and
shout out to Jesse.
Shout out to Jess for sure, man. Lord. So yeah, just seeing like those Red Bull hats, I'm like, dude, it was always like, oh, how fucking sick would it be? Like Red Bull helmet, dude. Like,
dude, even like, sorry, Brian, but I stole a Red Bull towel off a friend that we know that works there, and for my golf bag, and like. Come get it, Scott. but yeah, so it's like even just me having that, like I have that on my golf bag, which like never fucking comes out anyway. But it's like there's something like super prestigious, and like even people randomly like, oh my god, how did you get that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. And it's like it's such an iconic thing that even a fucking towel on a random dude's golf bag, and they've done such a good job of creating that's been crafted over like a really, really long time.
They've built it for themselves. Like it's crazy. Like just putting that hat on, like I ran into.
Dude, you would have felt like $1 million the first time you saw yourself in a fucking mirror or like an Instagram with like a Red Bull hat on. You were like, damn, I'm legit.
Well, no, it's funny. Like I like was at one of those Fest Series stops in Norway, and my buddy Mackin.
You were one of the where?
Have you ever heard of Fest Series? Fest Series is a mountain bike. It's all the freeride mountain bike guys. He used to do the freeride world tour, joyride, all that shit. They all got over contests. So they basically made their own contest that they basically get all their homies. They fly in for a week. Someone builds a super sick course, and they just jam the course and film it for a week straight. And at the end of the week, all the riders judge on each other who has the best whip, best line, best trick, all that stuff. And like, fortunately I met all those guys, and I'm like super like, inspired by those guys. Like they're making like the sickest lines in the Ram. It's freeride, like they take freeride to a whole new level. You know what I mean? So, I was at one of those events in Norway, and I was riding a dirt bike at like on the mountain bike line with those guys, and anyways, Mackin rides for Red Bull, and I like was like stole one of his hats and like put it on, and I'm like took a selfie of myself. I'm like, oh.
So is this when like the Red Bull deal was in talks, or like completely before?
I was definitely in talks with them, but at that point it was just one of those things that was like
still like kind of felt far away.
I just felt like it was out of reach. It's one of those things like I'd never in a million years would I thought that. So I'm like it'd be fucking amazing, but I just don't know if it's gonna happen. And at that point, like it's almost like maybe I didn't like believe in myself enough, or maybe I didn't think I was worthy of that. You know what I mean? Like, cause at that point, like that was my first X Games. Like, and like at a point with X Games too, like I never tried to get into X Games. I never hit them up and was like, hey, like I want to be there. I want to do this. It was like I 100% just went to whip contests and did my thing and put out the content, and finally, like, I went to the Monster Energy Cup thing that they had, and I qualified through that to get to X Games. So I didn't just get an invite from X Games. It's like I was, there's as much as I had the right people around me, and
you
like I could have if I wanted to, but I just never would. I never made it a point to like poke at it, because I just wanted it. I wanted that satisfaction of knowing. I fucking earned this.
Was that like a part of your psychology, even with like not asking for sponsors? Like, did you see people that maybe when you were racing that, I guess like if you really look back, like you were probably beating a lot of dudes that were like on factory teams and had this support. So did you always, was it almost like a mentality that you had to be like, fuck this, I'm not going to ask for shit. Like if I'm going to get something, I want it to solely be based off what I've done. I
think like, I don't know, my parents have always told me like if you don't ask, the answer's always no. But I got to a point like, so a couple of times I had people like, hey, here's so and so's number, like you're starting to prove yourself, hit him up and like see if you can get something. And like I can't even remember at the time, but like just dude, actually the funny story, my Twitch's old mechanic gave me Mitch Payton's number. Crazy story. Gave me Mitch Payton's number, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, no fucking way am I dialing Mitch Payton and then to tell him that I just won a college boy championship and I want to ride one of his bikes. You know what I mean? And that motherfucker sat there and hounded me until I dialed the number, and it rang. I haven't told many people this ever. This is awesome. It rang and rang and rang, and I'm like, oh, he's not answering. I was literally about to hang up, and sure as shit, just answered. Hello? I'm like, bitch. And he answers, and I'm like, oh, what's up, Mitch? My name's Tyler Bereman, and I just won this championship, and if there's an opportunity, I just really want to ride one of your bikes, And I don't think this was like the reason why I never like asked for things prior to that, but it was like the first time where it was like, okay, like
I'm gonna try.
I feel like maybe I could potentially get a ride this next year. Like not saying like a pro ride or anything. Like I was still amateur at that time. I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna call him, And so I ended up calling him. He answers, and I'm like, yeah, I want to ride your bike. And he's like, nah, we're good. Like straight up. Mitch just goes, nah, we're good. And I was just like, all right, thanks, dude. Just like, just hung up. And like at that point, like, I just, I don't know, man. I just never really cared to ask for things. Like I feel it's a lot more satisfying when you earn them, you know? So.
No, you're right, but it's fucking hard to commit to, man. I ask for shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is, for sure.
Because, there's certainly like the other side is like, do you want to die wondering? But it's like, at the end of the day too, though, the people that ask for stuff are obviously the people that are worried that they're not going to get anything.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that you've definitely become one of these guys where it's like, it's like you and Axel are like doing shit that people are just like, holy fuck. And like, there's certain thing that I guess like social media is like really good for, but it's the same thing that it's really bad for. And it's the perspective in which you see it that dictates whether it's good or bad.
Of course.
So I see Tyler Bereman do a whip on my Instagram like that when that fucking fruit you sent that, and I was just like, holy snapping duck shit. Like I got such a sick feeling from watching you do that, and that like I don't ride that much anymore. I don't like really care about it, but like I could appreciate what you did, and to me that's where social media is like this positive thing.
Yeah.
But then on the negative side of it is you get someone that wants what you've got, and then they're like, fuck that guy. Like that wasn't even that cool, or that jump was like, dude, perfect example. When I shot that Red Bull thing with Bubba dragging his fucking front brakes, doing the scrub, every single rider that I spoke to after that, because we were doing the rounds around Florida, every fucking rider except Jesse Nelson, because we did one with him, was like, oh yeah, but that jump's just so perfect for scrubbing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. He invented it. Yeah, he invented that. That's his thing. All of you, you're doing his thing. And I was like, there's no, but it's like that lens that people can look through.
For sure.
So then it's like you put that into social media and 175,000 people. It's like, how many of those people are just the full positive trip of like, that fucking fires me up and inspires the shit out of me. And that makes me feel good because I know the feeling that you must be having. Then how many of them are then going like, oh, that jump's just perfect, or why does he get all that? Oh, I could do that if I got that ride. So it's like, it's definitely like a slippery slope, And it's like, how are you using this new kind of thing? But for you, you're cheering because it gives you a place to like create the things that you want to create.
I'm very thankful for it, but I'm not a fan of it, for reasons like that, like certain situations where people can take something and take it out of context or something, and it's good for a lot of things, but it's also like, I don't know, just people just like, I don't know, it's that these days, dude, like I said, it's like getting worse. Like kids are just like they live and die by their social media, by their screen, and like I'm as guilty as charged a lot of times. Like you sit there and you're like, what am I doing? I'm just scrolling through just to look at hole. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell am I doing? And I really didn't realize it like gnarly until my Insta got hacked right after X Games this year, and I didn't have an Instagram.
Yeah, that's gnarly, dude.
And I didn't have an Instagram for 3 weeks, and it was so fucking rad. Like, I didn't like, everyone kept like, oh, did you see this? And this guy's beefing with him, and he's talking shit about him. I'm like, no, I don't. No.
Don't have Instagram, man.
No, but it was almost nice. Like now, like for granted now, like the last week I've been I can't do a damn thing besides keep my foot up. Like that's all I've been doing. But like for those couple weeks when I got it back, like I would go to post something and I'm just like, not end up finishing the caption, and I just and I was just over it. Like I didn't really, I wasn't really scrolling through it anymore. Wasn't seeing anything. Like I just wasn't, I don't know, just wasn't into it as much, and just, which is, it's one of those things you can't like, I have to do it. It's my, exactly. pretty much my job. And it's a great way to like network yourself. Like, like back in like 2010 and stuff when I started riding for Deft and dealing with Walt and all these guys. And like my grandpa was like, oh, you need to make a website. And Logan Darien that ran Deft at that time was like, I hate to say it, Ron, but like the new website is social media. Yeah. It's the easiest thing. Someone doesn't go to www.tylerbereman.com. Like they'll go on their Instagram or their social media at the time, MySpace, whatever the fuck it was, type in your name and there you are. You know what I mean? And now that's the world we live in now. You know, there's
fucking crazy.
Yeah, there's not anyone that doesn't have one. So I mean, you know, to not take anything away from that, like it's 100% my job, but it's just how, dude, just how
you've got to be responsible for yourself though. Really, it's like a drug. Really. Yeah,
and you gotta, like, you know, like I said with this whole thing, like when I posted waking up from surgery and like there was some backlash on it, like it's just, you just gotta know at certain times like what you can and can't post, and you gotta know that like there's gonna be a positive and a negative reaction to everything. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, you know, you just gotta walk that fine line. But you know, for part of me hates it and part of me loves it. You know what I mean? For times like getting a clip like that when we were at Farm Jam, like,
yeah, we gotta finish watching that. I want to see the slow-mo one of that bad boy. And then we gotta mute.
It's
so
funny.
Facebook chat. Can you actually like mute that thing on there? I don't know. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, so I want to talk through this whip because Brian just closed it.
Damn it, Brian.
Come on, Brian.
Gotta read that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that chat out of there. Look at that shit. Like, come on, dog. Come on, dog.
It's crazy.
Come on, dog.
It didn't feel anything like that.
So I want to talk a little bit about let's pause that full sideways, completely, and like just look. Yeah, right there. A little bit more. There. It's like, come on. So talk about that. I want to talk about that jump. And dude, 4 million views on an iPhone clip on Red Bull
Shout
Facebook.
out to Corey Bone, legend.
Oh, did Corey take that video?
Yeah.
What a G.
Oh, yeah, such a G.
Dude, BMX guys know how to film. That's like part of their deal.
He had that literally the best angle over how many like reds and stuff were there. Like,
yeah, and what's crazy is that's like you'd want to get in like a crane with the tripod, like me being the film dude, but then you just get some fucking legend.
that was the thing. Like, I'm a huge fan of Bowen, and like the fact that like I would be able to hit that thing, and like I would try to just, I'm like, oh, there's Bowen, like I gotta spot him, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like, and I just try to make eye contact.
So you just were looking at him as like a homie,
because
like, what's up?
Like earlier we were talking, like you put that hat on and like people just know. Like I was starting to go around and people ask me like, oh, what do you do or whatever. I got to the airport leaving for Farm Jam, and I was on the same flight as Hucker and Bowen, and like Bowen at that point I had never met him, and like I was a huge fan, like trying not super fan on him just because I'd like watched him for years, hills, like, and I used to ride
you because of the hills, bro.
Like, well, I used to watch it. Yeah, I mean that too.
That's why you love Annie.
But no, I used to ride BMX. I was just a huge fan of his style. Yeah, like he just made it look so effortless, and like just to get to meet him and like see him actually ride in person too, and it was cool. And like this day I got to watch him ride all that morning, and then you know he rides over and he's sitting on the jump filming me hitting.
And so you were just like gonna go full send, just like as a thing.
And it was crazy, like because this jump was like very, very flat. It's off camber run in, and it's uphill, so you have to hit it in fifth, and a very, very flat lip. So like you're coming in with so much momentum, and the very first jump that I'd hit it, I just like yanked up kind of to like get the distance, and when I did yank, I like yanked to my right, and I threw like a pretty insane turn up off this thing first try, and everyone was just like, the fuck was that, like first try? And I was just like, I didn't even really try, and I was like, dude, this was like the perfect jump for those, because like the steeper the jump it gets hard, like it's too quick,
like too poppy,
too quick. This thing, because the thing is with like all these whips are different. We got to turn up, turn down like a regular classic moto whip. They're all so much different in their own sense, you know what I mean? Like, it all takes a different technique for them, but like this turn up thing, like I'm coming in 5th pin and I'm basically just yanking as hard as I can, like I'm like looping it out, and I just like put my body in front of the bike and just like stop it, you know what I mean? And it doesn't really make sense at all, like even when I try to explain it to people, but I just like I yank with my outside shoulder and I drop my inside hip, and like I said, this was such a perfect jump for it. It wasn't too steep that you almost had to yank just to hit it straight, that like it was the perfect amount of lip to not be too steep and be the right speed to really get that like rotation of the bike, you know what I mean? So
this kind of these like
and like you can see, like look at my feet. My feet aren't even on the pegs. I'm fully squeezing with my heels.
So where are you squeezing? Like on your plastics or subframe?
I'm squeezing with my knees, and then my heels like right where your number plate plastic comes into your subframe.
That is just the craziest shit.
You see how my heels hook in there?
Dude, that's the craziest shit.
And I think a big thing too is like when you do that and you yank, like if you're like, you know, if you do it and you spot the landing, like it, you know, it'll be sick. But like when you do it and you like continue your head, like wherever you're looking is where you're gonna go. Like when I do that, it just gets it that extra little bit, you know what I mean? And yeah, like I'm doing this, that clip and that jump, it didn't feel anything like it looked. And I saw like Bowen's like, dude, you gotta see this clip, and I like saw it and I'm like, no fucking way, dude, that is insane. And yeah, I don't know, man, I just can't wait to go back 2020 and hit that thing again.
So what, like in the last couple of years, is it safe to say like you and Axel, like who else, because I just keep mentioning you guys, but there's probably some other dudes, but like who else is kind of developing these techniques? Because
it's all, like I said, there's 3 different kinds of whips, and every dude has their gnarly whips in their own right. But the first dude I really saw get like really sick turn-ups, like Twitch would do them pretty sick. He had like some really good ones, and then
for a super old dude,
for a grandpa, no, yeah, he like I saw him starting to do him, and then Hanny too, like Hanny, like that. He's another guy, like anything he does on a motorcycle looks absolutely effortless. So I saw him start doing them, and then Todd Potter as well. Potter would do him, and I was fortunate enough to ride Potter's spot that he had in Murrieta.
Does he not have that anymore?
I think he still does, but Potter he works.
He got wifed up.
He has a wife and a kid now, and I think it's just the level of the freestyle is like so gnarly now, and it just wasn't really like, you know, everything was dying. Like not to saying FMX is dying, but like
it is.
There's no like for contest scenes and stuff. Like there's like one X Fighters, one X Games, and that's like all these guys got. If they're not pulling demos all the time, like you don't have shit for contests. You know
it's just content now, eh? Like it's just all like look at this shit. That's 4.1 million views, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's like a quarter of the Australian population has watched that video. Like it's ridiculous.
So like Potter was the one that actually broke it down for me. Potter was the one that was like, because I was trying it at his house, and he's like, look, you got to come into it. You got to pull up, like you're like pretty much we're almost pulling like you'd pull for a flip. I'm not saying that like I've flipped into
so it's almost like pulling a flip, but without turning your head backwards.
Instead of pulling it backwards, you're pulling up
and then stopping it
to the right, and then right away put your weight like in front of the bike to like stop the rotation, you know. And that's the thing. And when he told me pull with your outside shoulder, drop your inside hip right away, and at that point, like the bigger the jump, the better, because you can get that thing looped out, and then you can put your body in front of it, and then at that point it just follows. It's 100% commitment and comfort level, but
and you're like not really developing this into the foam pit. Like that's kind of one of the cool things about what you guys do, is that it's like sessions.
Yeah.
This is developed over sessions. It's kind of like old school. And I guess it's cool because it's like the most old school thing you can do on a bike is a whip.
Yeah.
It's like this new school kind of whip, and this old school way of progression is just like you and the boys going out and just like
and like
just keep doing it.
Me and Axel now, like, not to like toot anyone's horn or anything, but I feel like me and Axel with the turn-ups have
new level.
Really progressed. I'm like, Axels are next level, dude. Like, especially on a ramp, like they're very, very hard on a ramp. Like the smaller of a jump and the steeper, it's very hard. It's all 100% technique. And me and Axel, like, dude, riding with him, like, I'm like, I don't want that little fucker to outdo me, you know. So it's just 100% like we're just feeding off each other.
Yeah.
We're just boys having fun riding, and you know, and it, you know, we push. Basically bring the best out of ourselves. I think we push each other in the right kind of way, and like we're having fun, and like I'll come in and be like, you know, he throws a sick one, I'll fucking rev my bike, sick, but like I'm gonna do it better, you know.
Can we look up like is there like a X Games best whip highlights of Tyler or something? Because while we're on this whip train, let's just keep talking whips. Everyone loves that shit.
So like
What's
I said
that? Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the full broadcast.
Nobody got time for that. There's a bunch of people in there we don't need to see whip.
But I think like
Jared McNeil. Shout out to Jared.
Yeah.
Smallest dude ever, biggest whips.
And Jared, like another dude, obviously, like he's spokes for all of his medals speak for themselves, and like
we might have to just watch the whole thing.
The dude kills it, and like, you know, I think the turn up, and specifically like me and Axel kind of battle on that, but like Jared's been the gnarliest like seat bounce old school whip guy for years, you know, and now the turn down is getting like to a whole new level. Like we used to call it the Twitch whip. It's like
now it's just a different deal. Might have to mute that bad boy. Like mark my words. You gotta mute the actual player just because it's through the TV. Other side there.
Looking to line it up in deep.
I think, and mark my words, dude, those turn downs are getting next level. Like, it's coming around.
Like, what do you think? People are just gonna actually do the 360s with them?
Yeah, you put that bar to the stop and you turn your head. Like, it's crazy how you don't have to throw it that hard and you're 180 so quickly with just.
Have you tried any of them yet?
Yeah. So last year before X Games, so like I said, I'd earned my way in there, like got through the X Games qualifier at Monster Cup, and ended up right before that I was racing some Hooligan stuff, like riding those big street bikes, and I ended up high siding the shit out of one of those things. Bike landed on me, and the foot peg went through the back of my leg, like fully, like through my tendon in the back of my knee, broke my knee brace like 2 weeks before X Games. Or no, it was actually like almost a month, and I didn't ride for...
Oh, here's Axel. So, sorry, keep going, dude.
So I didn't ride for a minute, and... I think, because we had they showed our warm-up jumps for a minute, but I don't think the comp has started yet. Wait, go back? Yeah, now. Should be.
The internet's not. I'll actually turn it off this big computer too.
So I'd gotten hurt, and like I literally got on the bike like 2 days before X Games.
Really?
I went to Matto's house, and I had just built my custom bike, and at that point I hadn't broken it in or anything, and I just needed to like just feel it out. Had motor work done to it. It was totally different from what I had been riding before that, and go to Matto's, and I'm like, Matto was telling me like, you got, you know, it's the variation and stuff. Like everyone's got a variation. Like I had worked on my turn ups, and my regular seat bounce whips have always been decent, but like the turn down, I had never really tried it ever, you know? And like that 2 days before I left for X Games, like 2 years ago, I basically told me you ride off the lip and you turn the bar to the stop, you turn over your shoulder, and the back wheel follows, you know, like very quickly. So I just started doing them, and I was getting them okay, like not good by any means. And like, to me, like I'm really critical on myself of like seeing footage of like how I look and how, like, if it looks effortless or forced or whatever, you know. And And when you start doing these turn downs, like the turn down is better when your front end is like dipped, you know, and you'll see some of these like I think like Wanky's was like pretty gnarly, but like not to take anything away from him, but it looked like it was like
he was trying to do it
very forced.
That would be like, I love Jared, but that would be like my criticism of Jared stuff is it's like hyperactive whips.
Yeah.
So there's Axel.
That was just the classic
that's
seat
just
bounce.
a CD, yeah.
And then, you know, like Jared's had the hugest whips forever, but I know like he was like very criticized on like the like head movement that he did like a long time ago, and he fixed that. You know, he's gotten a lot better. He's still you know, huge whips, but it just a little like, I don't know, not like I said, not taking anything away from him. It just like looks like he's really, really trying, you know, but he's a little dude throwing around a huge bike, so I'm sure he has to really like, you know,
he has
get
to
in
really
there.
give it, yeah.
So, but
sorry,
you know, no one's really getting his upside down and stuff like that as him. But so yeah, I ended up trying these turn downs for the first time right before X Games last year, and that's for sure my last jump is what got me my third place medal last year. Like, and I think it was just the angle and everything that they showed. Like, it was sick. I was like, the camera was straight from the back, and I was 100% 180, like nose dip, foot off, like staring straight at the camera, but like going away from you, you know?
Yeah.
So I think just like all these whips, dude, they're so like.
But so you think that turn down, the turn down is just going to go backwards, and you're just going to bring it around?
It's already backwards. I just don't.
But
like,
you think you're going to actually be able to land it backwards?
I personally think it can be done. It might be, I don't know, who knows though. It might be a little weird with like, you know how Travis tried the 720 thing for a long time? Just the rotation of him coming in, like he would come in swing every time, and until he added another flip with it and finally did the double backflip 3 or whatever the hell he calls it. Yeah. Until he did that, like, until he added another flip, it worked. So I'm thinking, like, in my head, like, yeah, it's going to work, but I just don't know until you try, you know? Yeah. But I think, like I said, when you spot the landing and you look where you want to go, like, when I turn my head over my shoulder, it's crazy how fast the wheel follows and goes backwards, and then you got to stop it. And the hardest part is getting it turned back around. You know what I mean?
So how much are you like actually muscling that thing to get it back?
It's like a decent amount of muscle right off the lip just to like turn it, like put it to the stop and turn it, but then like quickly gotta like get there, stop it, and like.
Because that's like the awkward bit, right? Is because so once you've got it there, it like, so that's the picture you're talking about?
Yeah. This is this year.
Damn.
So like you do that and you know what I mean? And that right there was like not me like really even leaning that hard. Like if you go back a little bit, dude. Like when right there, see, I'm not even turning my bar until I'm off the lip. Like if you turn that thing to the stop and you really give it a yank and you keep your head turned, like those guys do on a bicycle. Like that's how I learned how to do threes on a bicycle. Like you dip your head, and as long as you keep your head turned, it's going. You know what I mean?
Because you're right. You're really not throwing it like insanely hard until you're actually like in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a trip. And there's not much throttle in these ones either, right?
I think it's more just like like you can see my wrist like turn right there. Yeah. Like it's just a tendency a little bit, but then you see me crack off, you know? The other way, like a regular seat bounce whip, we're to the stop the whole time just to bring that thing back.
It really matters.
Yeah.
That was like the one thing that I really, like as sick as Todd Potter's whips were when like they first started doing the best whip shit, I just fucking hated that everyone just went the whole whip, and I'm man, is it really like, do we really need to do that? I guess for some of them though you do, right?
I think it's just without the inertia and the gyro of that rear wheel spinning, like it's night and day different to try to do that on a 250F compared to a 450, just because you have the power and your wheels spinning faster. The weight, I think everything about it is, I don't know,
helping it to bring it back
it
around.
Works, yeah.
It's crazy too. Like, I guess, like, if you could just go to Tyler's page and just close out that and have a scroll, it's like Hooligan Racing, and then there's like X Games,
the crashing sucks,
crash shit, half pipe. So it's like, you know, you just kind of keep scrolling, and it's literally fucking good times and dirt bikes. Like, there's no gym, there's no, you know what I mean? There's so much now that we're in this era of like fucking fun. All anyone wants to do, I don't know what's going on there. What was that for? First game at Oakland or what?
It was one of those the Fest Series stops I was telling you about. So Cam Zink, he's a pro mountain biker and freeride guy, and he had one of those Fest Series events, and it was just I threw a pit bike race, and at the time it was more of like a King of the Road style, like book and challenges, and like one of the challenges was like the best ICP impersonation of like the Insane Clown Posse, and like
whoop whoop,
yeah, whoop whoop. So I got my nickname T Jugs.
No, Juggalo for life, son.
So no, it was funny. They just like, I had to like film me like explaining the pit bike race, and they just thought it was funny that I could knock off some points and just like pop out. No one had seen me paint my face at that time, you know, and I just came out of nowhere, and everyone was like, what the fuck? And it was just more funny, but like seeing it on the TV show, and I look like a retard,
dude. We've spoke about the Insane Clown Posse before on the podcast, but like no one fucking knows about it, dude. And like the fucking scroll hole.
Have you seen like the actual Juggalo like documentary on
it?
Bro,
have I seen that shit? That's like the biggest scroll hole I've ever been down there. Me and Reinenberg, we were like obsessed with it, dude. We watched every single fucking ICP video that was like on YouTube, man. Like, we would just go on every Vice fucking doco. Like, man, that shit is so weird. And then when people are
it's like real though.
It's so
like,
real.
It's real. Like,
and then when people are like, I can't believe Trump won, and I'm like, copy, paste, and I send them like an Insane Clown Posse link. I'm like, that's why that motherfucker won, because them people are real. All of those people are real. There's a shit ton of them.
They have that here?
No.
You ever seen a Juggalo in Oz?
No, they don't have it. That's all you, bro. That's fucking you guys.
Brian, get the face paint.
So, the other thing, while we're like talking about that technical stuff, can we look at one of the half pipes?
Yeah.
The half pipe hits? Because that'd be sick to
go
go through.
Go down a little bit. There's right from me and my dad in the Rebel hat. See that one? Nope. The one in the middle. The quarter pipe one. This was X Games last year. So I had never hit a quarter pipe or an 18-foot quarter pipe before this point. I was very fortunate. I rode the Nitro Circus quarter.
Okay. I was going to ask if you've ridden that one.
I did. I rode it for 2 or 3 days before, and like first day I was like,
nope.
Felt like the biggest squid, like sitting there, like Colby and Axel just like roasting this thing, and like just the commitment level it takes to ride up the Nitro one is twice the size. It's 32 feet tall.
That is ridiculous.
With 88 degrees of vert, like, I mean,
that's like straight up.
It's fucked up, dude. And we're on a 250-pound motorcycle, basically, like.
And to get to the top of that, you got to be on like
commitment
super fast.
The commitment level, like the how much like speed you have to just like carry through the belly to get up that
and not
thing,
to mention like the forces that's like going through you,
dude. And
really in second or third, right?
I'm in second gear, like,
I just wrapped.
Even like Axel, dude. The Axel went 35 feet or whatever this year at X Games above an 18-foot quarter and a 24-foot landing. Like,
imagine that Nitro shit.
That's second gear, not even full throttle.
What?
You know what I mean? If it, like, to me, like, sky's the limit. But like, once we start clicking into third gear, I don't know if it would still work. I feel like you're not enough like torque at that point. But even with that, like, we're not wide open. Once you get wide open, like, that slightest little like
That's like 5 feet every fucking millimeter.
Slightest little cunt hair.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude.
Slightest little of the crack of the throttle will put you another 5 feet that quick, you know? So it's crazy. So luckily I had hit the Nitro Circus quarter before this, and I learned like you have to just go straight off of it.
What?
And you have to just go straight off of it, and at the top you're giving it a yank, like yank back basically, and you turn your head. And as long as you turn your head and spot the landing, it comes around. Doesn't quite make fucking sense, but it works. So as long as you commit. If you don't commit,
you end up on your head.
Bad news. Bad news. So that point,
so go into the top of the max and just like that volume thing, like you probably see on your screen, and just switch it to laptop instead of HDMI, and then we can mute it. Otherwise, it's gonna be too noisy. Sorry, bro.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, and then go built in, and then just mute it. Yeah, then now we're Gucci, baby.
So yeah, I got to X Games last year, and like I was psyched. First time X Games.
Is that you hitting the Nitro one?
Yeah, this was my first day hitting it in a year. Like they put it back up this year, and that was my first day getting warmed up back on that thing. But by the second day, I was going straighter and land. So each panel, you see like the panels.
Yeah.
Each panel is about 12 feet basically. So it's 70 feet wide, the whole thing. So each panel, like by the second day, I was going straight off of it, and I was landing on the first panel.
No.
You see those, like same with Axel Colby, like everyone started hitting it straighter, but you're going so much higher by going straighter. And by hitting this Nitro ramp, that's what made me know at X Games, like I need to go straight. So like last year at X Games, I got there, first night was whip, second night was quarter. I'd never hit an 18-foot quarter before that. And mind you, I hadn't hit the Nitro Circus quarter for 2 months, and I had hit it for 3 days, maybe a total of 30 times, 50 times, whatever. And I was so fucking scared, dude. Like I was pumped because I was like, I got through whip. I got a medal the first night, and I go into it like, you know, like had fun that night, whatever. And like next morning, I'm like just trying, you know, the nerves. Like I was just, and I think like I wanted to have fun the night before just because I was like so nervous about it. I got the one that I qualified for and came here for. I medaled in.
Yeah, it was like a relief.
I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet, like got my first medal. Fuck yeah. And at that time, like no one had known real moto results, and I'd gotten a medal for that too. So I was like, sick, my second medal. Fuck yeah. Like
who filmed that for you? Well, yeah, sick. That's rad.
Yeah,
that's like a cool full circle moment.
Wouldn't have anyone else.
Yeah.
But so dude, and then I get there in the morning, and I'm like, I show up, and I am fucking shaking like a leaf, dude.
Really, like legit.
So
like
scared because like you look at that thing, like it does no fucking justice until you're standing at the bottom of it and you're looking at it, and that thing's 18 feet tall, and Brian had seen that thing for the first time when he got there. You know what I mean? Like right at the bottom for the first time ever, and he was
just like, dude, don't hit that.
Dude, knowing he hasn't hit it for a year or two, you're like, oh, dude.
Fuck.
But you know, you gotta get confidence. You can't
yeah, true.
So I went, you know, this was the first year, you know, that I'm talking about right now, and I ended up going out for practice. First jump, I like didn't commit enough. Like, so like how the top of the ramp is, you have to leave the top corner of the ramp with both wheels. If you leave with your front wheel before like your rear wheel, you get stuck and you can't. There's nothing you can do. And this is one of those things, we're upside down and like this, but like you do not touch the throttle in the air. As soon as you leave the lip, it's straight up, straight back down. What happens if you
do hit the throttle? Does it just keep the front up there?
There's a certain times where if you feel like you're gonna like under rotate it or over rotate it, you kind of get on the throttle. But like, I feel it can get dangerous when you do that, because like, for instance, Jared, the first year when he did it, he carved it so much, and he was upside down and went so far, but he like was so whipped out that he had to rev it to come back in, and it's such a steep landing that he landed on the gas, and when he did it, like just ripped his hand out. You know what I mean?
Because he actually got hurt pretty good.
Yeah, he dislocated his hip. Yeah. So, you know, it was just gnarly. So like, I hit it the first time and it absolutely got stuck. Like I committed, but I just didn't like yank it enough around, and I got stuck. And at that point, I'm like, fuck, this is gnarly. Okay, like I just take a step back.
So is this in practice?
This is in practice. The first year, and I had still never hit an 18-foot quarter. Feels night and day different than the nitro one, but not quite as tall. So it's like, it's still scary, but it's not like as scary. So at that point I got stuck the first one, and I'm like, at that point it was like, holy fucking shit, I need to like,
and everyone's there.
Take a step.
Like, it's not like you're at your house like fucking something up.
Yeah, you're under one of the biggest stadiums in all of the United States. You know what I mean? They just had the Super Bowl here last year. In between this year and last year's X Games, they had a Super Bowl in the same fucking stadium, you know? So I ended up hitting this thing, get stuck, and at that point I like, okay, like calm down, slow it down, break it down. What did you do on the nitro ramp? How did you learn? And I'm so thankful I like got to commit to that one. And I just learned, go straight and give it a tug and turn your head and it'll work. And at that point, like in the video that he showed, the last video he showed you, there's a line where,
let's play that. Should we play this one or
here? Wait, go back to the last up, right there.
Yeah,
see the brown line, how everyone goes from bottom right to top left.
Yeah.
And see my trajectory, how it's straighter.
Yeah.
Just going that much straighter will put you that much higher without having to go as fast. And that's what I learned on the nitro one. You have to go straight, and you have to use technique 100%. It's all technique. It's not about
muscle.
Technique and commitment. It's all it is. And so I learned how to go straight. So I ended up hitting it straight, whatever. I had the lead until the last one. Colby absolutely sent it. Like, got me by 6-8 inches or whatever it was. But then...
So you're turning the bars back opposite pretty well straight away.
Because
otherwise the back's just going to keep chasing, right?
Exactly. You go up and you stop it.
So like, so you go up, and then as soon as you're up, you're going back.
Yep.
To stall out that rotation.
To stall the rotation, because it can easily over rotate.
Yeah. Who's that Aussie dude that's killing it right now on the quarter?
Oh, Corey Creed.
Yeah.
Killing it, dude.
Homeboy sending it,
dude.
Yeah, there was some of the guys, the Rival Inc. dudes, friends of the podcast, and they were saying that he's doing like crazy fucking heights, like practicing here, like crazy shit.
And I don't think like his
setup's not even as good.
No. But he was sending it when we were riding the nitro quarter like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
I don't know a month or so ago. But,
isn't it sick that a dude like him can just randomly come from Oz and like invest in a setup and have some fucking nuts?
For sure.
And now like he's gonna probably make a career out of this.
For sure. It's sick, and it's cool.
Everyone says he's a cool dude.
And to me, like, this is one of the coolest things, because like most people can understand it. Like, it doesn't matter like your whip or your, like, you know, some people can understand the style part of it, like, but most people like Step Up, for instance, is the most viewed X Games discipline.
Really?
At one point, in the last few years ago, was the highest.
This will take over. This is cooler.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, people, you know, like fans can. It's that wow factor, and they know like you're just trying to beat a height, you know. And I think once they work through the bugs of the format and how it works and all that, is gonna be good. But this year. I had not touched the nitro quarter or the X Games quarter for 1 year. And I was still obviously medaled the year before, got an invite back, and that was my first day back on this thing, just trying to.
What would happen if you seat bounce that?
I don't know. Honestly,
has anyone done it?
I think the nitro one might work like really sick, but I think like
it'd probably put you too much back.
I feel like it would put you in a little away from the tranny. Look at the middle one. That one's pretty cool, like angle, because it's from the side too, and you can kind of see like
how much further you've got to come back to. This shit is crazy, dude.
And like I said, like I hadn't hit this thing for a year, dude, and this year too. Like I knew kind of what I had to do, because the year before, like I was fortunate that I had hit it.
There's no fucking halfway crooks in this shit though.
No, it's 100 like
you're doing it or you're not doing it.
200% commitment or zero.
Or don't come.
Yeah. So, like I said, dude, I hadn't hit this thing in a year, and like getting there and like riders meeting that morning, like got through whip the night, or no, this was first event this year. This was first night. So it was like, okay, you get there and like on the way, like my van that my buddy was driving, my van fucking smoked a meat freezer in the middle of the...
Yeah, dude, tell me about that. I heard about that shit. What the fuck?
So like, yeah, before all this, like I already like on my way to X Games, I like... So
you and your buddy drive.
I had my buddy drive. Like at that point, I had so much going on. I just finished everything I needed to finish to get going for that, and it was gonna be too much on my body, and just getting there just to like.
You're factoring now. Come on, that's what it is.
And to be honest, I just didn't really want to. I just didn't really want to drive that far, and so fortunately, Fast House let us use their van, and one of my best friends from my hometown that I've been best friends with for long as I can remember, Tyler Beach, and he comes down, grabs everything, like comes down late the night before, leaves super early the next morning, is like calls me. He's like, "Oh, I'm already to Colorado." I'm like, "Dude, you gotta pull over and sleep tonight, like get some sleep because you're way ahead of schedule. You know, you're gonna beat me there." And like, so he sleeps in Colorado, whatever. Wakes up the next day. I'm getting on a plane, and I leave Ontario. I have a layover in San Fran, and then I go to Minneapolis. And my plane from Ontario kept getting delayed. And I'm like, fuck, might not make my connection. Well, whatever. He made the flight, got to the connection. I'm like full blown sprint running to my gate, right? And then I feel my phone vibrating in my pocket. I get to the gate. I'm like, you know, like winded as hell. Like, mind you, I'm in terrible shape. At least I'm honest. So I get there and I'm like great riding shape, but you know.
Yeah, you're in good best whip shape.
my knees are smoked. I can't do much running these days.
Yeah.
So I get to the gate and I feel my phone vibrating in my pocket, and I'm like look at my phone, and it's like my mechanic Rob. I'm like, why would Rob be calling me right now? Like, Rob's supposed to be getting on a plane.
No news is good news when it comes to that kind of shit. Yeah.
Rob was calling me getting on the plane, and like he was leaving after me at 11 o'clock that night. I left during that morning, and it's Rob, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" Like, and I can just tell in his voice like something happened. I'm like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I just got to my gate, you know." "What's up?" So he tells me Beach crashed the van. Like he was driving down the interstate, and a meat freezer, like basically a big meat freezer, like, you know, long rectangle one, fell out of the back of a truck in front of him, and the car in front of him swerved to miss it, and he was on cruise control, just cruising. And next thing you know, the car in front of him, he didn't see it fall out. The car in front of him swerved, and he's on cruise control, and he's like, "What do I do?" The car in front of him swerved left.
Plus, when you're in a van, it's not like you're super maneuverable.
Yeah, for sure. In a Sprinter, and he's like, sees it and like gets to the brakes and tries to swerve and gets right. It's either smoked the guardrail on the right side of the van or clipped the meat freezer, and he was just like, fuck it, just hung on, smoked that thing. He said he sent it like a hockey puck, just like into the center median, just like thing just went poof, and destroyed the van, right? So at that point, like, I didn't just have my bike in there, I had my buddy Wanky's bike that from Japan, and like he's also competing too. And like at that point, I wasn't just worried about my shit, like I'm also worried, like, okay, this guy paid the driver, you know, came from Japan, paid the driver some money to take his bike, and now his mic might not show up too. Like, and at that point I get that call, and I'm just like losing my fucking mind, and knowing that I'm about to sit.
The worst thing is being on a plane.
Sit down on a plane and be on a plane for the next 5 hours, you know? So mind you, like, I get there, get on the.
Me, of course.
Yeah, everyone. First thing, like, call my chick, like, fucking never believe it. Like, just losing my mind. She's like, it's all right, everything will be fine. Like, then I call him, and I'm like, dude, like you never fucking believe it. Like, absolute worst case scenario. Like, so by the time I got to X Games, like, I get there, finally call Beach. I'm like, dude, like, what's up? And he's like, we're good. They called AAA, got a tow truck driver there. The tow truck driver took me to a place to drop the van to get it worked on. The tow truck driver was a fan of motorcycles, and so he canceled his next job, drove him like 100 miles back to the place that he was at, back towards where the crash was, which was in middle of nowhere, Nebraska, I think, like middle of fucking nowhere. And goes back, and he's like on the phone all day. Finally finds a U-Haul, right? Like goes back. These guys take him back to a U-Haul place. Gets in a U-Haul, drives back to the where the van is.
Unloads everything. Does full Chinese fire drill. Throws everything in. Gets on the road and shows up the morning of quarter practice at like 9 a.m. Quarter practice is at like 3:30. And at that point, I'm like fully just tripping. Like the year before was like my first X Games, and it was like no pressure. Like I was just like so stoked to be there. And like then it was like this next one was like, okay, now I know like where you to win now.
I want to win, you know, and I expect to win. So I was like, you know, and then I get there and I'm like, that was the last thing I needed, you know, to start my week. So it was just kind of like started off like fucking nightmare, you know. But anyways, like ended up getting there. Like my homie like pulled through so solid. Like, dude, owe that dude the world for even just getting mine and Wanky's shit there, and drove literally all through the night. Got there, watched me practice, and like literally like barely made it back to the hotel and slept for like a day straight. What a G. Yeah. So that was a hectic experience. So like bike barely made it, all that. So like that morning, like I'm already worried about all that. Then I got to go to the riders meeting and like, I haven't hit this thing. I'm shaking like a leaf, dude. Like out of like literally feel my heart, and it's just like, you know, out of my chest. And I'm like, just calm.
So I guess like behind the scenes, like not to take anything away from Axel, but like you didn't have that much time. So like you're kind of in there tripping. I bet Axel's just cruising because he's like got that setup, you know.
They had that. Like he has two of those things out at MC's house that he was riding and filming his sleigh ground thing on, and his real moto stuff. And then for 2 weeks they had this thing in Calgary in Canada that was like at a fair or whatever, and they set up a full scaffolding landing, like insane price tag on that thing to set it up, and he had 12 days straight of practice. That's and sick. Flew straight to X Games, so which was like not to take anything away from him,
but he looked like he was on a different level. Yeah. Like the level of comfort that he had, he was just like,
and that's the thing, like
so fun to him.
Yeah, and it was one of those things, like he was so dialed in by that point, and like you know, everyone would have taken full advantage of that situation if they could. Yeah. You know, like why wouldn't you? But I was just at that point, like I was just nervous, like seeing all these Instagram videos, you know, and that's also like where social media is, like you can really fuck yourself, you know what I mean? I started looking at it like, oh no, like this is gonna get gnarly, you know. And then so I get there, whatever, do this riders meeting, I'm still nervous, go out there, get suited up, I'm out there, and like first jump, like Axel's first one to hit it, first jump, dude just fucking goes to the moon, and I'm just like,
well,
fuck,
let's go for second.
Here we go, you know. So like, so at that point I just eased into it, like you know, a lot of some of those dudes, like I was in the same boat, like Josh Hill and Wanky, for instance. Wanky had never hit one either.
I thought Josh would do way better.
Josh hadn't hit one for a year either. Okay. So it's just like a confidence thing. But I just think like
maybe X Games should like invest in some kind of thing like Nitro do.
That,
you know,
that thing is no joke, and they really need to do something to like dudes like Wanky, like he'd never ridden it, but they invited him, and
yeah, they need to have like some kind of lip to foam pit set up, and then just let everyone just go ham in the foam pit for a few days.
Dude, he ate shit on it, and it's like.
And you're not going to turn it down.
This thing is so fucking gnarly and so dangerous that like you need to like be able to like know that these guys coming that are going to be competing, like you know that they know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? Not to say that anyone didn't or whatever. That thing is a whole animal in itself. You know, you could be the gnarly.
There's not that many of them.
Like when I first rode the Nitro one, dude, like the gnarliest freestyle guys ever, like all the dudes like I've looked up to, whatever. There's so many people that look at that thing and say,
like, nope.
Fuck no. Like,
well, Harry Binks like that.
Nope.
Harry's like, nah, man, I'm good.
Nah.
The motherfucker does double flips with no shirt on for breakfast.
Front flip rock solid.
For breakfast, he does fucking no shirt double flips, and then he's looking at that going, nah. I'm good.
So, but I think like the Nitro one is like so much taller, but it's like
Does it feel safer? I guess safe's probably a pretty stupid word to use.
Safe's a difficult word to use for a quarter pipe.
It's problematic.
I think nothing about it's safe, but the more tuned in you are with just your technique and knowing what to do and stuff, like as long as you know like same technique every time and you just work your way into it and like don't bite off more than you can chew, like it's insane. Like hands down, like I've pretty much only done whips and raced a dirt bike, like flipped into a pit, but like that is hands down the funnest feeling you'll ever experience on a dirt bike. No doubt about it. Like I said, you don't touch the throttle when you leave, you go straight up and you free fall straight back down.
That's fucking sick. How hard were you tripping when your Instagram got hacked right after X Games, just signed a deal with Red Bull? And like, let's be honest, like they're fucking doing it on social. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's because you're getting like fucking thousands of views, thousands of likes. Like you're built around content. Like you have a brand, and then all of a sudden, sign on the dotted line with Red Bull, win some X Games shit, and I've got no more platform.
No more platform.
Were you fucking tripping?
Yeah, for sure. Like,
so what happened?
So I got an email through my email, and it was like basically said it was from the Instagram team, and it was like, mind you, we were just talking about this like the day before with the head of social at Red Bull, and he was talking about, are you verified yet? And I'm like, no, like I don't really care, whatever. Like if I got to check next
you're not verified.
But right if you are verified, it 100% eliminates the fact of pretty much you getting hacked, you know, right. Like that. So whatever, he brought it, literally just so happened to bring it up the day before, you know, like after whip the second night, like, oh, you verified? Well, we'll work on getting, you know. So like next day I like get this email leaving X Games, getting on the plane that morning, like, you like verification, like put in your username and password to like put your application in or whatever, you know, to get verified. And just randomly, like, mind you, hungover, getting on a plane, like over it, wasn't too stoked. Like I wanted to do better and was very hard on myself, but as I should be, because I want more, you know. So I was like, did that, put it in, and like get on the plane, like land in my connection. I don't know where my connection was. I look, open my Instagram when I land, and it's like this weird, like all these letters, and like my Instagram name's like changed, and I have no profile picture, but I still had all my posts and everything. And I was like, the fuck? I'm like, oh, I got hacked. Like, what do I do? And at that point, right then, I was still logged into it. I should have went in and just change my password, but I was out of connection, and like I was like, fuck, I got hacked. And I was like calling people, like, what do I do? And then like had to get back on a plane again, like just you know, turn my phone off. And then I get back and I land, and it's like I'm completely logged out. And like there it was gone into the abyss. And at that point, like, you know, like you can say I put a photo of me and you, and I add you in the thing, you tap screen, your name will come up. Like all those other people that had that had posted me and added me in the photo, you'd click on it, and my profile was completely gone for like 3 days, completely gone. And then next thing you know, my chick was like, hey, like this, your name came back, and it's like constantly changing every day. Like it's changing like every couple hours, you know? And then as I would look at it, like my posts would slowly just decrease. Like they were erasing all my posts and erasing everything. And like just all these random names, right? And it was like the weirdest thing. And like, but so at that point I like made just like a random fake Instagram, like nothing to do with me, just like random, just whatever, just to follow my old profile, so I could know what was going on and relay all this information back to Red Bull, because Red Bull was trying to help me get it back, and you got to talk to Facebook, not because they own Instagram and all that, and it was a nightmare, complete nightmare. And I was literally just giving them every step of the way what was going down, like what names were changing, my post getting deleted, like all this shit. And sure enough, it got to the point where they erased all my posts, every single one of them, for 6 years. Like this, like you said, like all that like trial and error before this social media shit, like all those memories and all that shit that, like, you know, now I look back on it, I'm like, I lost them all. I'm like, dude, I was losing my mind at that point. Like, fuck, like.
Because the thing is, that's like the shitty thing about digital. Like, that's our version of the photo album.
Yeah.
Like right now, like if we go to my parents' house, there's like photos of me as a kid. There's photos of my first dirt bike. There's photos of me fucking my first race. But now it's like this generation, and like it gets to a point where it just stops, and then everything's digital. Like how many times you lose a hard drive, lose a phone, fucking shit.
Yeah,
like, you don't keep stuff. And like now I go back to my Facebook to be like I found an old photo of like me and you. Where me, you, and Walt, and we're like fucking standing behind the van
on the way to Eastbound Down. I remember that.
Well,
photo.
it was at the track
at the event in Georgia. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I don't. If I lost my Facebook, I'd lose that memory
for sure. And that's like with mine. Like I had an iCloud for so long or whatever on an iPhone, but like I never had a computer that I backed it up onto. Yeah. So it was like all that. Like how many like. I'd have years of memories and I'd lose the phone, and then there went those 2 years of memories, you know, like, but thank God for a platform like this. Like I had them. So anyways, like they erased everything finally, like after I pretty much wrote it off at that point. Like it was 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. I'm like,
it's not,
I just, at this point, I haven't had any answers, nothing. Like it was totally in the dark. I had no fucking clue what was going to happen. And at that point, I'm like, maybe I should just start a new one. And like at that point, like with just having a Red Bull platform and all my friends, and like, you know, I could regain, not that I give a flying fuck about a number of followers. Like obviously it helps for sponsors, but like it's a number. Like, you know, if I could be a lot better at this and really want more, but like that's 100% organic. I've never promoted a post. I've never bought followers. Fuck that. Like it's a number. I don't care, you know. But, and that's what's also cool is like I have 177,000 people following me. That's like
actually
like it's like I mean some of them have no idea, but like, you know, most of them it's like
they're pretty engaged. You can even see with like how many views and shit that it gets. But I mean it definitely would have been heavy. Just I'm sure there were times where you were like, fuck, what's Red Bull gonna think of this
exactly
shit, you know?
But you know, at that point, like I could have, you know, gotten it back and whatever and done my best, but you know, and then I'm in Sturgis and I was there for Hooligan racing and like just wake up and get this email like got it back, and like first thing like called everyone like, dude, you'll never believe it, got it back. And like luckily my homie, when all this was happening, this kid that I met in Canyon, like this kid that skates, his name's Noah, right? So I met Noah a long time ago, whatever. Well, Noah had an Instagram, and he hasn't posted for like years. He's only posted a couple of times. He doesn't care about it, like hates social media. But he saw that I got hacked, and he changed his Insta name to my handle, Tyler Bereman. So no dickhead would be like, oh, he got his Instagram hacked, and take my handle. That way, if I was to get it back, then that would be one more step to me, like have to get my name back. You know what I mean? Right. So he just took it and he's like, let me know whenever you get it back, and I'll change it. And
what
like,
a G.
Yeah. Shout out to Noah. So yeah, basically right when it happened, I sent him a text. I'm like, yo, dude, finally got it back. Like, do you mind going in and changing it? And he's like, yeah, when do you want me to do it? And I was like, do it right now. Like, I'm waiting with it open to change my username. So just let me know whenever you do it and I'll change it over. And right then changed it over, got it back, and was like, fuck yeah, I got it back. But I had no post, nothing, right? So I went about 3 weeks, dude. And I'm like going through like bummed I lost all my posts. You could go to like the tagged photos, and all my tagged photos were still there.
Oh, okay.
But all my posts were gone, right? And I didn't realize, like, on Instagram, you know, you can archive like stories and stuff like that, or posts. You can archive a post. Well, when I went to the archive at first, it was just on my stories, and I didn't know at the top you can drop it down and change it over to posts. Well, when I did that, sure shit,
really,
over 1,000 photos. So as much of a dick that guy was to hack me, he was not a dick enough to erase all my shit.
Why do people hack fucking Instagram?
Dude, the guy hacked it, and a couple days later, he's like putting on, like, you know, I said it like disappeared, and then it came back, and he erased all my photos. And once it got to 0 photos, he put up an Instagram story like, Instagram for sale, DM me for messages. Dude, when I got it back, I went through my DM. This motherfucker was trying to sell my Instagram for $400. Like,
that's not a lot.
No, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna like sell $177,000, at least make it fucking worth it, and like take someone's like job away from them, basically, in a sense. You know, like not necessarily that like
I get
taking my butt. You know what I mean? But it was just like
how the fuck are you gonna sell Skinny Bunny tea without that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's the thing. Like, everyone that still followed me at that time, like I think I went all the way down to like 170,000 followers. Like, I lost like almost 7,000 out of it, like whatever. But everyone that was still following me, like, would see that name was constantly changing, and then they would click on it and realize it's mine, and then like, because you could click the tag photos and see that it's all me, but it's constantly changing. The dude's just trying to. So when I get it back, I look through all my DMs, and this dude's trying to sell it for $400 to multiple people. Like,
so you're just trying to scam $400
just
off
scam
everyone.
people. And I'm like, and like, I had the Fast House guys hit him up like, hey, like, we'll give you $500 for it. Like, how do we know this is real? And at that point, it's like, this dude, it's already a scam.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna give this dude $400. He's gonna take $400 from multiple people, and then what? Are you really gonna get the Instagram back? Probably not. You know,
fucking loser.
Stupid. Like, absolutely stupid. So, anyways, ended up getting it back. I found out that most of that shit was archived, and I'd spent one day like going through individually unarchiving everything. I was at 1,000 posts. I got through 700 of them, and I was over it.
At least you're laid up now, so you can go through
now I can go through it. But it was cool, like, get that thing back, but it was definitely a stressful situation.
It's probably cool that you got that 3 weeks of detox though. Now you probably got a bit more of a balanced relationship with it.
Absolutely have a balanced relationship with it, and then I know how to take it. And like, I've always been like try not to respond too much to negative energy, and just like, everyone just wants to feel like they have something to say when they're just sitting at home in the scroll hole, like you said, you know. So I don't know, it's just one of those things. Like, I love it, but I hate it, you know. Yeah,
it's just a tool, man. It's just a fucking hammer. You can hit some cunt in the head with a hammer, or you can build a fucking house.
Yeah. Bingo.
What do you want to do with a hammer? Like, but that's everything in life, dude. So, I want to talk about the Hooligan racing, because like I was talking to Kerry about it for a bit, and like he's frothing on the whole Hooligan thing. So it's like, I don't know, man. It seems
so
like
fun, man.
I guess what it comes out to this whole thing. Like, we just had Day in the Dirt in Australia. Oh, fucking Harley Clifford wants a FaceTime.
Should we add it?
Nah, he's all good. If he calls back, answer it, and then fucking. Do you know who Harley Clifford is?
No.
He's like 10-time wakeboard world champion.
He rides for Red Bull, doesn't he?
No, Monster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I was thinking Steel.
you're thinking Steel Lafferty. They're homies, yeah. But Harley, he's just coming back to Oz this weekend. It's his birthday on Saturday. Shout out Harley. He's a fucking legend.
Happy birthday, Harley.
Yeah, he's a man. Yeah, so like Day in the Dirt happens, and it's like, I went to a dirt bike race for 3 days and I rode 2 laps of the track. But I left fucking pumped.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
Day in the Dirt's the best.
You know? And it seems like that. Day in the Dirt, the whole Fast House vibe. Now you've got the Hooligan racing. It's like, it's sort of coming back full circle. It's like we went fun, racing for fun, ultra fucking serious. And if you weren't holding up that AMA #1 plate, you weren't shit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, then you get guys like yourself to where it's like the vision changes, the goals change. Companies like Red Bull, not to say they don't give a fuck about winning, they obviously do,
yeah.
But they're also appreciating this other side. So it's like there's this whole movement, man. And what's that?
Simplicity.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, because as soon as you start adding all of this races, training, diet, fucking these friends that you can't hang out with anymore, like just slowly, it's just like chips away at like the real core element of like, because dude, you're from a motorcycling family, and it's like, and I am too. Like, I remember my dad doing fucking wheel stands on the beach, and I'm like sitting on the front of his XR 600, and he's like fucking and like, I remember that shit.
Yeah,
that's like sure. that's the fucking thing that you go back to when you're like, oh, why did you start riding motorcycles? You know what I mean? So it's like, is it cool for you to kind of like be in now this new wave?
Dude, so it's insane. Like you were just saying, coming from a motorcycle family, like my grandpa, like legend, my grandpa Captain Ron.
Charger.
I don't have one.
For this?
Nah.
Okay.
Is it going flat?
It's 7%.
That's all good. We don't need it anymore.
So my grandpa, my grandpa, we call him Captain Ron, absolute legend.
Dude, like the movie Captain Ron? Yeah. Oh, dude, I fucking... No Australians would know what that movie is, dude.
That's like him to the T.
What? Who was in that? Was it fucking Burt Reynolds? Not Burt Reynolds. What's his name? Fuck.
Dude, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. I can't remember. But
Big
anyways.
old reef ran the whole coast. Oh, what? You heard of it?
That legendary movie. But that's like my grandpa in a nutshell. Pretty much.
So that's him
like,
up there on the screen.
His way of the highway. Yeah, it's my grandpa on the right, and my dad on the left, and both legends, man. Like my dad raced flat track. My dad got into flat track because of my grandpa. My grandpa belonged to a motorcycle club where we used to ride at Clear Creek. They own or have a motorcycle club up there called the Salinas Ramblers, and my grandpa has been in it for over 50 years. Wow. He's one of the oldest guys in the club. I think the club's 75 years old now, maybe. I don't know, maybe more. I know they had their 75th anniversary not too long ago. So he was up there, and that was the reason why, like, my dad started riding. My dad was badass, like, flat tracker growing up, like, with all the legends of, like, you know, Kenny Roberts and let's see, who else? Ricky Graham, like, Bubba Showbird, all those guys. Like, you might not know all these names, but legendary names in flat track. I'm like, flat track's the oldest form of motorcycle racing, like, just racing a circle, and everyone understands it, you know what I mean? So my dad raced flat track, like, professionally, like, pretty much local pro. There's two series, Gene Romero and Eddie Mulder series, and those two dudes are both in on any Sunday.
Yeah, right.
Gene Romero and Eddie Mulder. So they had their own flat track series.
No shit. So I grew up watching on any Sunday. Yeah. Like that was like I mean, my dad was the same moto guy.
No matter how many times you watch that, it makes you want to go around every single time.
Never gets old. That was my, like, fucking, that was my Disneyland. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that was our Disney movies. It was like put on any Sunday.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I definitely can relate.
So my dad would, like, race these Gene Romero and Eddie Mulder series, and that was, like you said, your dad doing wheel stands with you on the beach. Like, my dad would, like, they'd do qualifying, and then after qualifying they'd bring all the riders onto the front straight, and they'd introduce all the riders. Every time my dad would throw me on the tank, and I'd get to do the parade lap with him, you know what I mean?
Fuck,
like,
yeah.
Always remembered that, like, and it was so sick. And I started riding when I was 4 and raced flat track a little bit on and off, but I never did it that much. I didn't really care to, like, race or anything. I just rode around my grandpa's property for fun, like. And then my dad raced pro, like, all those, like, through 2004, I believe. And at that point, I would go every weekend with him to those races, run around as a little grom in the pits, and, like, just like, I was, like, living, like, the flat track lifestyle. But it was at that point, like, at that time, it seemed just so boring to me. Like,
yeah, when you're a kid, it's
like it was awesome. Like
there's, like, a soul element to it.
Yeah.
To where it's like longboarding. Yeah. Like if you compare it to surfing. And I think when you're a kid, you just want to get a fucking shortboard with 3 fins, and you just want to do airs and like go to T Street and just fucking send it. But it's like, as you get older, you appreciate, like, the art form behind it and the soul side of it.
Absolutely.
So I get kind of why kids don't do the flat track
for
stuff.
sure. And it's funny because, you know, he did it up until 04, and it's crazy because, like, I always tell people this. The only Grand National main event he ever made, and basically, like, the AMA circuit at that time, now it's the AFT, only main he ever made was at Del Mar, and he was on the very back row, the 4th row, with Tommy Hayden, Nicky Hayden, and Roger Lee Hayden, all 3 Hayden brothers. And that night, all 3 Hayden brothers podiumed. It was the first all-brother podium ever. And they lapped my dad twice. So
he was a part of history there.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was like that story, like the only Grand National he ever made. Like, so, anyways, I went to the races watching my dad, like, forever race and rip around in circles. And I just thought it was awesome, but it was like, as soon as I did moto, I was like, fuck this, I'm jumping, you know?
Yeah.
So fast forward now to this Hooligan thing. Like a couple years ago, just started like Cameron Brewer from Rolling Sands Designs hit me up, and he's like, hey man, like you want to come ride one of these bikes sometime? And at that point, like my dad he had retired in 04, and he hadn't ridden at all, like sold both of his Rotax 600s that he had, and my grandpa had a Bull Taco Astro 76 Bull Taco Astro 360, shit. The same exact bike that my dad rode when my dad was 16, right? So somehow my grandpa kept all that shit up in, like, my grandpa keeps everything, right? And he found the frame, found everything, got all the parts, rebuilt this bike, and the baddest bike ever. Like, thing is so clean and whatever. So my dad, like, came out, started racing that thing again, and, like, I just thought it was rad. Like, sick to see my dad get back on it. And, like, mind you, he still fucking sends it. Like,
yeah, really?
The best style, like, got out there, and it was super rad. Well, anyways, he started racing that, and then, you know, as I transitioned from racing and was doing the free ride stuff, I was got on Von Zipper, and I was doing like some Hell on Wheels races, and it was more of like a run what you brung style TT stuff, and like flat track, and like it was fun because at that point it was. Yeah, see, that's the Bull Taco right there, the Astro.
No shit.
Pops has got it, dude.
Oh, that's your old boy's IG?
Yeah.
Damn, he is styling.
Yeah, he's got it, dude.
Shout out to Randy Bereman, at Randy Bereman.
Yeah.
Give the old boy a follow.
Give old man a follow.
Give him a follow for some swag.
So yeah, we basically, he got that thing, rebuilt it, and then I borrowed my uncle's bike, and I can't even remember, and back in 14 maybe, we did a race together. And that's awesome, like me and my dad getting to race together now. So I'm gonna transition into that. But so we started doing these Hell on Wheels races, me and him, just like for fun, whatever, like, and it was rad. Like, I get to go out there and like race with my dad, like, and you know,
which is every dad's dream.
Every dad's dream, and it's every kid's dream too, man. Yeah. Like, to get like watching my dad for so long, and at that time, I don't think I really like realized it, and maybe I was like, it was like I said, it was in 2014, so it was a few years ago, and a little younger, and I don't think I kind of not necessarily taking it for granted. I just didn't take it for what it was.
It's funny, how as you get older, like, you kind of can identify with like nostalgic things.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that way more than I ever have.
For sure. And then same with me, like with this injury and everything, like I'm taking a step back and like, okay, like where I would be irate through the roof right now, just like fuck everything, you know? But anyways, so I started racing with my dad. It was super fun. And then fast forward, like we're racing together maybe once a year for over the next couple of years. And then Cam hits me up and asks me if I want to ride one of these Indians. Cam got hurt or whatever, and ended up going out to Costa Mesa, rode the Hooligan bike. The thing's so gnarly, dude. It's 500 pounds.
Fast as fuck.
500 pounds. Like, I've been on, put it this way, I was on a half mile in Sturgis going easily close to 100, and I was not even hitting the rev limiter in second gear. What? Yeah. It's fucked. I've ridden some pretty big tracks, and I literally ride them in first gear.
What?
Like, the thing, they're so fast. It's insane. But so I was riding these things and like just did a few races, and it came to this year, and the end of last year I rode a couple, and Cam hit me up, and he's like, it was the first round of this year going into the Super Hooligan National Championship, which is run by Rolling Sands, and you know, this Hooligan thing, it's been gaining a ton of traction. It's like it's like grassroots style, like all these guys like run what you brung, you build it out of your garage and you do it. Well, I was fortunate enough for like Roland, they had an extra bike that they let me ride, and then Roland and Cameron both like busted their knee. Like, Cam tore his ACL, Roland actually broke the knee, you know? So
is that on like the inside knee from like
the tibial plateau?
But is that they're getting it from like the inside knee and turning that these injuries, or just crashes?
I think crashes. Just crashes.
So that's not like a thing that's common.
I mean, potentially could, but you see like you can't really see it in this photo, but we wear steel shoes.
Yeah, so it's like sliding,
and it's super hard to catch your foot on the ground.
Yeah.
Like it slides very easily on the ground. Like you can see my dad will have it over his toe and strapped on.
Have you ever rode the legit speedway bikes around
I
there?
haven't.
They're fucking gnarly.
I've been meaning to.
They're really hard to ride.
Yeah, no brakes. It's like bike skill right there.
Yeah.
So I'm like racing these things. Both those guys got hurt. Their team sponsored by Indy, and they had to have their bikes out there. And basically, this whole year they just been finding people to put on the bikes, so right? Sick. Well, it's awesome. And so the beginning of this year, I went to the first round in Oregon, and they're like, "Oh, like come race," and I was like, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, stoked!" And it was literally landed from New Zealand, and the next weekend I was in Oregon racing this super hooligan thing, and I actually did pretty good and made the main. Like wasn't expecting to, and there were some gnarly dudes, and the thing is, like it's getting really competitive now, and like everyone's figuring out how to ride them. Well, anyway, so I whatever made the first main, did all right. Then the second round's in Paris, right by my house, and I'm like, talk to Cam, and I'm like, hey, like we should. My dad like's been ripping the Bull Taco. Let's put him on one of these things. Like, you know, you guys they had a Harley there, they had a Triumph, a Yamaha, like just extra hooligan bikes laying around. And I'm like, oh, can we throw him on one of these? Well, they sure shit, they threw him on the Triumph, and like at that point, then it's like, okay, like can't let old man beat me. You know what I mean? So it's like game on. So like. But still like very, very like getting to pinch myself like I'm racing with my dad. It's so rad, you know what I mean? So he comes down, races the Triumph, smokes me first round, and I'm like, fuck, like the old man got me, and like that point like lit my fire, you know. But it was rad because my dad met everyone, and the story speaks for itself. Like it's father son, we're getting to race with each other, and like he doesn't want me to beat him, and I sure as hell don't want the old man to beat me. So it's like it's awesome, you know. So fast forward now, he's ridden every single round since with us, and I think I'm a few up on him now.
Really?
Yeah, we're keeping track, but he it's crazy, man. Just getting to like race with my dad is like, it's unreal, you know. And like I said, the story tells itself, and like having him, like, dude's like always driven all these races, like cross country growing up and stuff, and like
the stuff that he's done for you,
and the stuff he's done for me. But now it's like we go to the X Games qualifier for the hooligan racing, right? First time ever, my dad's whole life, like he's never flies ever. But one of the first times, like they flew him to the race, and like he got there, and like the bike was there, and he was just like, my dad was tripping, dude. He's like, I can't believe I'm here. Like I'm here with my son. The team flew me here. The bike's here. Like this is insane, you know. And like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy how like this whole thing like comes full circle. And now fast forward like a couple more rounds, like we went to Sturgis together. We had 3 days of racing in a row, and old man, like this is the half mile right here, and you can see like where the shiny dirt is. That's what they call the blue groove, and the blue groove's really thin, and you blow that blue groove and you push wide. Look at that chain link fence. Yeah, it's like the most like,
and it's like if you're off that, it's marbles.
Yeah, you like that's most hardcore grassroots racing, but so fucking dangerous, dude. Yeah. Like when it goes wrong, when you're doing 100 coming into that turn, and you blow that groove, like shit gets real quick. Yeah. So, old man, my bike's like all day, my bike's running on one cylinder, kept firing, would do one lap and it'd fire to one cylinder and lose power. So I'd have to shut it off, turn it back on. Well, we changed the ECU for my LCQ. I ended up making the main. Well, was in front of him in the main, like running fifth, and old man comes in hot, like here's my bike starting to sputter because the new ECU wasn't like on top, wasn't fully running right, and it was kind of cutting out. So I'd like send it through the turns, but then like halfway down the straightaway I'd be like and losing power. So he'd catch me, and he hears my bike losing power, sees the opening, and he just fucking throws it in there, dude. And
no shit,
old man threw it in there and blew the groove right in front of me, right? And I'm like, oh shit. And at that point he thought he's gonna blow the groove, I'm gonna dive back under him onto the groove, and I'm gone, right? Well, I was like, I ain't letting old man, like I know this thing's sputtering, I ain't lifting until I'm in the turn, you know what I mean? So I lift as he's blowing the groove, and I'm like, oh fuck, he pushes me all the way wide, like can't see anymore. But my back wheel, I'm to the stop. Like, mind you, like these things are 500 pounds. I'm doing at least 80 miles an hour. To the stop, wide open, back wheel almost in the grass. Like, homeboy blew me off the groove, somehow saved it. We both dive back down to the groove, like right behind him. I get in the tuck, and I'm like doing everything I can to keep up with him. I just couldn't. The straightaways, I'd get him, I'd keep up in the turns, and the straightaways, it was just cat and mouse, Anyways, he ends up blows me off the groove, and after the race, he's like, man, like, thought you were gonna get back under me. He's like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, fuck, I almost killed both of us. And it was just like a funny situation. Well, next day we go and we're racing the next night. I ended up winning that night. Pops fell in the main, so I was one up on him on that one. And then the next day, same shit. I got bad starts all day. I'm behind him. He's on the front row. I'm on the second row. Or no, I'm sorry. We're both on the second row. He's right inside of me. Clicks second coming into the first turn. Blows us both off the groove, all the way off the track. So and I felt good all day. I felt like I had a fighting chance. Like I won the night before. Like my confidence was up. I was pumped. And I'm like, he blows me off the groove, off the track. And at this point, I'm like, fuck, me and him dead last. Second to last, dead last. And I ended up like past him, crawled my way all the way back up to fifth. But I was like, came off, I'm like, dude, you blew me off the groove again. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know, just one of those things. Like it's been, the hooligan racing itself is fun. It's fucking like grassroots. Like I said, it's everyone there is having a good time for the most part. It's getting really competitive, but just nothing beats getting to race with my dad and come back and talk shit to the old man and be like, haha, got you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's all time.
Well, I think we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Really?
Yeah, dog.
Crazy.
Goes quick, huh? Dude, I'm so stoked. Like, the situation sucks.
Yeah.
That we're not doing like a recap of all the fucking fun we had at Day in the Dirt.
Yeah.
But I'm still glad to see ya, and it's been.
Hey, there's always next year.
Dude, yeah,
there's gonna be next year. Yeah.
Fuck, it was fun.
I will.
And then we're gonna
trust me. I saw all the videos.
Yeah, and we're gonna make sure that my dad is your mechanic for this weekend, and Dad will take care of it. But yeah, man. Is there any shout outs you want to do? Anything you want to talk about? I suppose a lot of your plans have changed. So
yeah, just like just really quickly touching back to that. Yeah, I had my plans where I was coming home from this. This was 100% fun. I was gonna do that Nitro quarter
World
comp.
Games, yeah.
At the World Games, and then 2 weeks after that, I was going to Monster Cup to defend the title that I had won last year for the biggest whip thing, and then I was heading straight from there back to X Games Sydney, and then basically Day in the Dirt November, and then to Italy December. So, like I said, my plans, that was the hardest part of being injured here, is just knowing like.
Well, dude, there's so much opportunity now with Red Bull,
Yeah,
like
and that's one of those things I can't
it's
dwell.
It's got to be frustrating.
It is frustrating, but it's something I can't dwell on. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do. You can't look back and change it. So it is what it is. I just need to take it for what it is. And
you got to think, man, like, you're in a really unique spot. Like, you're not Ryan Dungey. Like, you're not retiring at 27. Like, this is the tip.
For what I'm doing, like...
This is the start, bro.
I'll be... older than Twitch, older than Grandpa, and still.
Fuck, it's gonna be hard to be older than him though. Like ever.
Touche.
Nah,
at least hopefully I still have my hair by that age.
Nah, man, he's bald by choice. Like he shaves it. Like he could have a fro if he wanted to.
Really shaves it because 1, he's got grays, and 2, he's got a receding hairline. So don't let him fool you. Don't let him fool you. Oh man, but yeah, just stoked. Thanks for having me on here. Stoked to see you again. It's been a long time.
It's been way too long.
Just want to obviously thank all my sponsors, my family, my friends, and my haters, and everyone. Love y'all.
Sweet, dude. Yeah. Well, let's go get some Mexican in Australia.
Yeah, dude. I cannot tell you how badly I'm craving just the sloppiest, just wet burrito.
Dude, that's what I miss about California.
Dude, okay. One more story. Okay. Yeah. Real quick. So, dude,
hey, we got time. We don't have to leave.
Hey, so they're about to load me into the ambulance leaving, right?
From the track.
From the track.
Yeah.
And the people in the ambulance are like, look at me like, okay, honest, like, and mind you, I'm just trying to like make the best of the situation. Like, so on your pain scale on 1 to 10, what is it? And I like look at both of the like chicks that are the ambulance chicks, and I like look at Kenny past them, and I was like, 69. And they both like just kind of laughed at the time, and then whatever, and then they take me in there, and like, so I go get transferred to Wesley Hospital where I was getting my surgery and all that, and like they're checking my spine, and they're like, oh, we gotta stick our finger in your butt, and I'm like, at that point I'm like,
was it a dude or a chick?
It was a chick, but I'm like,
that's all right at least.
But I'm like, fuck, and they're like, okay, like slowly roll over, and I'm like, oh, like you really gotta do this, you know? And I'm like rolling over, and I'm like, well, at least spit on it. As I like hear like rubber glove like snap. Yeah. And like I look up, and like there's the two girls on the one side of me like are like, they're like looking at me like, oh my God, like he did not just say that, you know? And then the other one that just snapped her glove is like, what did he say? And then they look at me, and they like look back at her, and they're like,
what the fuck?
They told you to at least spit on it. And I'm like, I'm like, sorry, like that was very inappropriate, I know, but like this is like not chill, you know? Like, sure shit, like, she's like running her fingers down her back all the way in there, and she's like, okay, now like squeeze your cheeks. I'm like, oh,
no,
squeeze my cheeks,
so
dude. Yeah, like no. Pulls it out and just fucking shit all over myself, dude. It was so gnarly. So gnarly. But I just thought that was pretty funny, like, dude, making light of a shitty, literally shitty situation.
Dude, when I went to Adelaide, like when I had all this kidney stuff, they rushed me to hospital, like, you're gonna die, you have to go to hospital right now. So then I got in a cab, went to the hospital, and then the chick's like, it was a chick, and she was like my age, and she was like decent looking. She had to put a catheter in, and like you could just tell she felt like super awkward about it. Like, it's so much better if it's like some old
I gotta
lady
grab
or
this little thing.
She's like, where is this? But she's like, I gotta put a catheter in. I was like, yeah, whatever, do what you gotta do. Like, literally, they said you're about to die. So I was like, fuck, my dick is the least of my problems right now. So then, and she just like fumbled around with my dick for like 5 minutes, bro. And then she's like, oh, I can't get it right. She's like, I don't do many of these, and it hurt like fuck, bro. And I was like, man, you have to fucking figure this out. I was like, this is fucked up. So then she's like, I gotta go get someone else. So then she gets another chick that's like the same sort of age again. So I've got these like two fucking chicks in the room, just like both looking at my dick like, oh, have you done many catheters? Like, I haven't done that many. And I'm just like, go get somebody that fucking does this. Go get someone that's done this shit.
Go get grandma back there.
Yeah,
she's
get
done
the old lady that does these to herself.
Classic.
Good times. All right, let's go to Mexican.
Dude. Hey, thank you.
Cellmates for life, son. Yeah, we got through the whole podcast without talking about it.
I know, good. We'll just keep it at that.
We'll save it for next time. That's fun as fuck, dude.
That was fun.